Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. It is 7 p.m. and we are ready. Today is September the 4th, 7 p.m. and it's 7 is a good number. It is that number of completion. And you can't complete the evening unless you spend it with me. It is the Marcia Week show, and this is Marcia Weeks. And today's show is going to be very, very informational, very educational as usual. So, I always say you get a pen, and you get your book, your notebook. Look at my notebook. I have been writing in this notebook from morning. You see all the pages. This is how the opposition in Barbados, how we educate ourselves and how we advocate. We're not going to do any agitation, any advocation if advocacy is the right word, any advocacy and any agitation if we're not educated. And this is how we get educated. Yes. So we're going to get educated together today. And we have some amazing topics that we're going to look at in its entirety tonight. So I want you to share. Go ahead and share. Go ahead and like the page. It's important that you like the page. I don't always stress that, but it's important that you like the page so that in terms of the algorithm, that it will draw people there. Okay. So like the page, share. I tell you, this is going to be great information tonight. I can see my guest there, and I now have to call him my co-host, Mr. CASWELL FRANKLYN. He's in the green room. I can see him, but I know he's settling himself. And we are going to provide for you a very, very informational show tonight, and touching on a couple topics. But I can't start tonight unless I talk to you about the march. How many of you were at the march? Good night, Natasha. How you doing, girl? Were you at the march, Natasha? Listen, I am getting such good reviews. Now, the people, I'm talking about the people that were at the march. One person, a brother, he went to the march, not my physical brother, but he went to the march, and he said to me, Natasha, he said, Marcia, all I felt was love. He said, all I felt out there was love. I just felt love, 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 love. It was just an atmosphere of love. And this is somebody that doesn't show much emotion, but he said that is what he felt out there. I'm hearing such stories, okay, of what people experience on the outside. One gentleman, the driver, the truck driver, he got down and he started to distribute water, because that's the kind of environment it is. It is something by the people, for the people. The people pay for it, the people turn up. All right. And he put somebody else to drive the truck, who of course have the license to do it, and got off the truck. Natasha got off the truck, and he started to distribute water. And he said, Mom, I was so surprised. This white woman saw me and said, do you need any help? She was in the march. And he said, the white woman, he said, use it just like that. He said it just like, he said, the white woman started to distribute water, and people were helping me, and Lumumba came and helping. Listen, and Lumumba was a speaker on the truck and giving out water. The truck driver was a truck driver and giving out water. Listen, this is the kind of environment. You see how many placards? Listen, my husband told me when he saw all those placards that were made, he said, oh Lord, will we be able to give out all these placards? And he said he was so surprised, CG. Hey, CG, good night, good night, good night. Awful warm. Awful warm. Yes, the numbers are increasing weekly, because my husband said that when he saw the number of placards, he said to himself, oh boy, are we going to use up all these placards? And he said little by little he saw the placards were just being used, and it just added, the placards added. We had placards before, but these kind of went up a whole nother notch and added so much to the march. And I use the word talawa all the time. I use the word talawa all the time, and I say we lick about with talawa, but the numbers are increasing. And what I like about it is the energy of the people. And as you know, I couldn't be there. I felt like a fish out of water, I tell you. I called some of my friends. I said, do they have a Barbados embassy in Trinidad? I want to go stand up at the embassy. We drove to an address in, it was not Tuna Puna, but another place. And but it was a person's home. It wasn't the consulate. I thought it was a building. I was ready to go in front of it with my Barbados flag, but it was somebody's home. So we couldn't do anything like that. But I really wanted to be there. I had to get out of the apartment I'm staying and go on the street, because I was like, oh my God, what are they doing now? What's going to happen now? Oh wow, Natasha is saying the people on the street stopped to read the placards. But I was on cloud nine. I wasn't there, but I was on cloud nine. And I just want to thank Lynette. Lynette took the reins of going to the police and getting all the permits. Caswell for leading the charge. Oh my Lord. Oh goodness. And everybody, Winston, he tried to get the people out. Winston is something else, let me tell you. You don't judge a book by its cover, and don't look on somebody's past to judge them. This man is doing something for this country. That Winston Clark you see there, But let me tell you, I just want to say that I'm so proud of Barbados. I am proud of Barbados, and I have a few things here that came in. Somebody says the numbers are improving. A lot more people are listening to the messages. Someone sent this to me because they knew I wasn't there. They're trying to help me. It will get better and better as the people come to realize what is going on. And that's what we do on the Marcia Week Show. We bring education to you. We bring knowledge to you so that you know what is going on. Persons in the march were shouting to continue the marches. Hey. Oh, wow. Hurricane, you were there? Hurricane says the placards were great and informative. Wonderful artwork on the cookie jar and Titanic placards. I didn't see the Titanic. Which Titanic placard? I have to let Mr. CASWELL come on and tell me about that. Let me read some more. Somebody write, of course, the people are calling for it. It is the people. So when you hear they do whatever, it is the people. It's not CASWELL, it's the people. The people pay for it. The people bring the water. The people share the water. The people drive the truck. The people do everything. I heard even the truck driver took the microphone and talking to the people. Where do you hear that happening? The truck driver giving out water. The truck driver talking to people. This is a march of the people and by the people, because let me hit my chest here. Let me move this here so I hit my chest. We are the opposition in this country. We, meaning the Bajan people. So when I tell you that is somebody say, oh, they're going to deport you. I wasn't even in Barbados when it happened. I wasn't even there, but the Bajan spirit, man, I told you about that. I was telling you all about that from before. You don't need no foreigner to get you out there. I call it myself foreigner. I'm not foreigner. I'm a Bajan. Because we're laughing. And so bring it on, CASWELL. I just want to read a couple more things from the people here, right? That they were, right? And it's all the things that people are writing, and they're saying, what they're saying, all the things that they're saying, it's all just very positive, very positive. Aren't you excited? I am excited about what is happening. The opposition is strong. The opposition is growing. The opposition, and we are not opposing for opposing sake, We're not, let me tell you something. That's, this thing that they're talking about, people are troublemakers and want to label CASWELL as a troublemaker and want to call me all kinds of names and whatever. But let it be known that don't even bother us. But what I want to say to you is that, remember, we do not have an opposition in Barbados. So when they begin to say these things, don't be moved. We do not have an opposition in Barbados. It's 30-0. So normally what would happen on the floor in Parliament when they are presenting a policy, that's going to affect all of Barbados, what would happen? The opposition would get up on the floor and they would present a different side, right? Remember that? That was 5 years ago, right? That is what would normally happen. It's not happening now. We know why. Because they have the parliament and they have the Senate. So what we are doing is standing up as a formidable opposition and not opposing for opposing sake. We are standing up and we're presenting the other side. We are presenting the other side and we're doing it unafraid. It's our right. And that's why the police is giving us the permits. If we were illegal, there would be no permits given and we would be locked up by now. So don't you be afraid to come out next time. Make sure you come out. This is important. And the last thing I want to say to you is this. Remember Exodus, the story of Exodus. You remember that? Do you remember that in order for the Israelites to get their freedom, they had to get up and they had to do something? Yes, they had to do something. They got the word of God that they needed to go ahead and they need to follow their leader. Yeah, follow the leader. And they need to cross. They need to cross the Red Sea. They needed to leave Egypt. They needed to do what? Leave Egypt. Moses brought that word to the children of Israel, but they had to get up. They couldn't just sit there and saying, well, things are bad and things are hard and all of these different things. They had to do something, Barbados. The children of Israel, they had to do something. They had to get up, they had to pack. And not only that, God gave them instruction to go and plunder the Egyptian women, take up, get all the jewelry and everything from them. You understand? They went and they got all of that. And he said to follow the leader and to cross the Red Sea. Did they know how they were going to cross the Red Sea? They didn't know, but they got up out of their homes. They got up. And that's when you hear the call to march, get up and go. Get up. You've got to pack up. You've got to go. You have to get dressed. You have to call the neighbors. You have to get ready, Barbados, and you have to go. God is trying to help us out of this situation. God is really the opposition, but we are his hands and his feet. So when you hear the call to march, get up, Barbados, and march without fear. You're marching in faith. And those children of Israel, they got up, they packed up, they went to the Red Sea, but they didn't know how they were going to cross it. And that's when the power of God came in, when they met up with the impossible, right? When they met up with the impossible. But it's not impossible for you to get up and put on your clothes and go to a march or go to a protest. It's not impossible. You've got to get up. It's not impossible for you to get your pen and write an article or go on your computer and you use your Word document and write an article. It's not impossible for you to take up your phone and call brass tacks. You are the opposition and God is waiting on you to act. You see, and when you start to act, when you get up and you start to act, it's going to meet you. It's going to meet you. You're going to meet up on some problems that only God, they call them God problems. And the Red Sea was a God problem, right? The Red Sea was a God problem. You're saying to yourself, how are we going to even out this thing with the government? How are we going to even get any opposition in there? How are we going to even get rid of this government if that is what needs to happen? Hey, start one step at a time. Put on your clothes like the Egyptians. Put on your clothes. Get out there and join the protest. Be part of the solution and not be part of the problem. We are no longer a nation of people that sit down and talk, That's not us. That's not us. And that's why I love these marches. We are putting feet to the word, actions to the words. You are learning, like myself. This is my book. I showed you at the start, and I'm dead serious. Even today, Mr. Franklin would be very proud of me. I was making notes all today. See my book here? I'm serious. I even went and bought another one today, and I learned so much. Okay, and I have my pen and thing, and I know you need to get everything, yeah. And so let me bring in. Yes, okay, somebody's saying we only have until November to get this legislature repealed. We got to get going, right? Yeah. We got to get going, guys. Share up this live. We've got to make it. We need to double those numbers the next time, because God wants to help us, Barbados. But we got to get up and do something. And we're doing it, but we could do a bit more, right? We could do a bit more. Ah, listen, listen. Mr. Franklin, Professor. We're going to call you Professor.
I'm a professor from Gresham College.
But you need to have the fake accent. Listen, we start on the man this early. You have to put on the fake accent. The man, which school you went to? Harrison College or Combermere?
I went to Combermere.
You went to Combermere, so put on the fake. You have to put on the fake English accent and say you're a professor from Gresham College. Good evening, Mr. Franklin. How are you?
Good evening, I'm well, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be talking to people on the show again tonight. Let me just start by telling you the march. I want to talk about the march first. I was conflicted in the march on Saturday. You know, I was happy that the numbers were growing. As a matter of fact, a reporter after the march came and told me, "Well, this is the biggest march you had so far." You know, and I felt good about that. I can see myself when I'm on the truck. I can see the crowd going way back. So I realized it was a bigger crowd than we've ever had. But that was one I was happy. But what really I was conflicted about is that we had people in Barbados who want this thing done for them. Yeah, like Hurricane writers now saying a blind man is seeing accurately thing. Well, a blind man was on our march walking. You know, a blind man. That is why I felt some sort of disappointment in the other people who didn't come out. Because here we are, we have a man who has to be led. And he was on that march. I felt so happy. I felt so proud of him. You know? So I was feeling good about one thing, but then disappointed in the other people, because we should have a lot more people. And then another day before the march started, a lady approached me. She told me she missed the first 2 marches because she was not well. She's a cancer patient, she's a cancer survivor, and she was having some issues. Days when we had the first 2 marches. She said, "But today I feel good." And I had to come because I'm doing this march before I die. You know, she's saying, "Look, I got to come out and do this thing." She's a pensioner already, you know, but she had to come out. You know, I saw people who, a lady came to me and she slipped $100 and she said, "You know, I'm a pensioner, but this is for a good cause." You know, so that was conflicted. Happy because of the response we get from the people that were there. Happy that a blind man came out. Happy that some people who said, "Well, look, they were too ill to walk the first time and the second time, but they said, look, I had a master son trying to come to this third one." You know, and that is the kind of commitment I want to see. You know, and so I think we are getting there, but I know I'm a bit of a greedy fella. I'd like to get more. I'd like to see more people out there, and people are coming to me and telling me, "Oh, we don't keep it up, you know, keep up the good work, you know." And this is after the march. I'm walking downtown and people are telling me, "But," I said, "But you were not on the march." You know, but they're telling me to keep up the march, do the good work and stuff. But let me tell you, government isn't sitting down and playing dead, you know. They're creating a lot of other issues to distract us. You see this credit union issue? That's another distraction. They want to keep us away. They want to keep, so they bring things to drown us out. But we will not be drowned out. And Marcia, another thing. This morning I'm in my bed. Phone rang. The lady said, "I sent you an email, but you didn't respond." Not a WhatsApp, but you didn't respond. So I went checking and I didn't see it. So, oh yeah, when she sent it, it only had like gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have anything, so it sounded like code. So I didn't understand what it was. So she sent it again. I went looking for it. It was the Barbados Day of the 31st of May this year. And it gave light to everything Leslie Haynes said on Brass Sat there. And I'm going to quote Leslie Haynes now. in this article, open inverted commas, says the new act is establishing the national insurance as a commercial state enterprise. That would establish the board of directors. It would establish the relationship between the government and the statutory body, and it will deal with certain provisions of the National Insurance Fund and how it is to be administered. I'm stopping there. The NS official told Barbados. All right. He announced that there were going to be changes to how the National Insurance Fund will be administered. Well, from 1967 till now, it was being administered by the board. And now we see the legislation that is going to be administered by the state. And he announced in the newspaper on the 31st of May that arrangement will change. But he got caught out, or they got caught out. He's on brass act saying it was
a
an
mistake.
error. It's no error.
So hold a minute, slow it down for me. Listen, you all hearing this, people? The opposition, you have to take notes. You have to take notes. So I am hearing here now that since May 31st, that May 31st, and this was of this year?
Yes, 2 weeks ago.
That he was saying that there would be a change in how the fund is going to be administered. And so if there's a change in how it's going to be administered, it must be then it's different from what it was before, right? Precisely. That makes sense, right? So what is the change then, Mr. Franklin?
The change is what we saw in the legislation that we announced in the Marcia Week Show, that they're replacing the board with the state.
You see why we were wondering if it is that they were caught or if it was really a mistake. You all see what is going on, people. You all see Wayne Hoyt. You seeing Wayne Hoyt? Read again. Go again, Professor Franklin.
Open inverted commas. The new act is establishing the national insurance as a commercial state enterprise. That would establish the board of directors. It would establish the relationship between the government and the statutory body, and it will deal with certain provisions of the National Insurance Fund and how it is to be administered. Close inverted commas. The NIS official told Barbados today in an interview ahead of that meeting with NUPW. So since 31st of May, he announced that the relationship will change. And the only thing that will change because the board was administered before, and we see in the legislation that the board is now changed to state. So the state will administer. And he come on the TV and lied on the radio and lied and said that, oh, show me somebody that in this world that never make a mistake, and then you try to make it sound like, oh, poo-poo and poo-poo what we were saying. He was lying. How you could come and the public domain and just lie like that? It is amazing. But no, either he is lying or the Barbados today is lying. But one of them is lying. Because I haven't quoted anything from me. I haven't quoted anything from Marcia Weeks. I am only quoting the Barbados today, and the Barbados today said he said that to them.
So unless the Barbados today is not reporting accurately, okay, or is that it's a blatant lie, or is it that they were caught?
They have it in inverted commas. That means it is his speech. He didn't say anything like, oh, he said so and so, and just that anything. They reported exactly what he said. You know, and he also went down further on in the thing that mentioned that he says, he said, adding that the International Monetary Fund, IMF, was supporting the reforms. Remember this is further down in the article.
But yet still the Colin Jordan said it was homegrown. The
Yeah.
idea was these are guys, they make me scratching my head. Listen, this article is showing up that the chairman is either that he forgot. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. He probably forgot or something, but there is a discrepancy with what the chairman has said on national radio and what is being read in this Barbados Today article. And if it is correct and the chairman is listening, they need to call Barbados Today and let Barbados Today retract this article with this quotation, because they quoted this man. So if the quotation is wrong in that article, he needs to call and complain and get a lawyer and get them to retract it, because they're probably telling lies on him. But at the moment, this is what Barbados Today is saying, that he said that they were going to change how the fund was administered. Okay? And this, what he said, was a mistake. It was really a change of how the fund is administered, where the state would now administer the funds. The state will be in charge of the fund underneath the Minister of Finance, who is the Prime Minister. Am I correct, Mr. Franklin?
You're absolutely correct. So in the amendment, the state would advise the Minister of Finance. So the Prime Minister in one capacity will advise, but let me say this way, Mayor Morley in one capacity will advise Mayor Morley in another capacity how to spend our money. Oh, that is so open and transparent. It's funny. Believe you me. And they're lying, but what they have also done too, they have actually been depleting the national insurance of the experienced staff, transferring them. Oh, any staff member that make a hint that he's not interested in any board, they transfer them some blessing brains and people that don't know the work, and decide that they're going bring people and put them in temporary positions so that they will have to go over to the national insurance new body. This is all about getting their hands on
So
staff.
they are trying to get rid of people, you're saying, that are dissenters. They're trying to get rid of dissenters.
Not trying, they have, and they have done so. A lot of national insurance staff over the last year have been transferred out. I'm talking about experienced people who know about national insurance. They've transferred them out, send them to all different government departments, because they don't want any opposition. They just want smooth sailing into robbery.
This sounds to me, guys, the more you listen to it and you watch the show, there is a pattern to it. There's a pattern to it, and someone is picking up here what is happening. Conflict of interest. That is really the hallmark of what's happening in this government. So the prime minister is supposed, the minister of finance is supposed to advise the government. Oh, it goes, the prime minister advise the minister of finance advise the prime minister, right?
No, the prime minister who will be like the head of the state market apparatus. The state will advise
right
the minister of finance.
Right, and so and the prime minister is the minister of finance. So really, where is the transparency there? Where is the accountability? Who will she be accountable to? To herself. And these are the issues, guys. These are the issues, and we see them recurring. These are the recurring issues, and this is why whenever you hear the call, opposition, hear me now, opposition, I'm speaking to you. When you hear the call to go out on the street, you gotta go. That's where we go. We don't have any parliament to go. We go on the streets. That's where we go on the streets and we make our voices known, right? No, so this person is saying that this all sounds like hearsay. So this is why I am saying this is Easy D. I am saying that we are reading here, Easy D. I don't know if you just joined the program late, But we're reading here from a May 31st Barbados Today article, which is here in the chat right above your comment. Oh, I'm gonna put it here. This is the article that we're reading from. In fact, I'm going to try to find it so that I can put it up on the screen. But this is the article that is being read from with a quote. It's a quote. I'm sorry, from the Leslie Haynes. Okay. And so yes, it's a quote. All right. So what am I saying to you is that you're saying that could it be all a hearsay? And the thing about it with some people, when we hear the truth, and that happens to me a lot of times, it's very difficult for me to accept certain things you're hearing because it sounds ridiculous, right? But it's good to read it and just to go it over. And we're saying to the chairman, it is important then for you to contact Barbados Today and retract the statement, because they could have misquoted him, because it's a quote. But at the moment, what we're reading in the newspaper as a quotation is coming from the chairman. So I think that it is. I just wanted to stop too, because I'm not into
I
promoting.
just,
We're
I
not
just,
lies.
I just sent it to your phone.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to try to get it up on the screen. But go ahead, Mr. Franklin. I know it's hard for people to accept and to understand, but as the opposition in this country, we have to look at things with our eyes wide open. We have to listen with an open mind, look at all sides, and forget about party, and be the opposition for Barbados, not opposing for opposition's sake. And here am I, I'm still giving the gentleman the benefit of the doubt that Barbados Today might have misquoted him. And if they didn't misquote him, then he needs to go ask for a retraction and get a lawyer. And also the minister, because May 31st said that it was as a directive of the IMF. But the minister, Colin Jordan, again on a national radio, said it was not. That's a fact. Go back to the brass tacks and listen to it, right? And hear what he said. So this is what we're saying. There are inconsistencies in what they're presenting to the people of Barbados, and we owe it to them. We owe it. The Marcia Week Show, what we're doing, we're presenting the facts to you. Go ahead and share the live. People said more people need to see it. We need you to share the live. Share it and tell people about it. Continue, Mr. Franklin.
You said you're giving him the benefit of the doubt. And I too want to give him the benefit of the doubt by saying I doubt anybody could be this stupid. You can't come out and make one statement today and then forget you make it and come and do another one and expect people to believe you. I understand how their people feel. They feel hurt. They feel sorry that they are being deceived. It isn't easy to face your friends lying and deceiving you, and when you believe in them wholly and solely. This is a call for the Barbados, their party members and supporters who now seeing their people who they really are. Let me go and quote another quote for you. He said, it goes on recalling that there was a run on the National Insurance Fund during the height of COVID-19 pandemic. Here's disclosed that more than half of the 100 million plus which the government has pledged to invest in that fund to recapitalize it has already been paid. And he's quoting again, and they have agreed to pay off the balance at certain intervals to capitalize it. But they have already paid one tranche. So I really wouldn't worry about the National Insurance Fund, the chairman asserted. They are saying that
Listen, you all hearing this? Did you all? You read again. Let me try. I find in this article and I put it up so that you don't think that Mr. Franklin is making up this stuff. Go ahead. I'm going to find this thing tonight. Continue. You read. Keep going. Keep the show going while I
see the thing is, he is all of a sudden now. Govt is up to there talking about saving the fund and all this kind of stuff, and because that sounds good, that sounds sexy, that is would appeal to people. But what I was saying before, that the fund is not in danger. It will be in danger if they get their hands on it. But certainly, up till the 31st of May this year, the chairman was saying, and I'm quoting, so I really wouldn't worry about the National Insurance Fund. That's what he said on that was reported on the 30th, the 31st of May 2023, 3 months ago. You know? So this is not me making up anything. If it's anything that's made up, go and blame Barbados today. As an article written by Emmanuel Joseph. The article starts like this. Prime Minister Mayor Motley and members of her cabinet will in a few weeks have in their hands proposed provisions to transition the island's social security scheme into a commercial state enterprise to make it more profitable to ensure its long-term viability. Chairman of the National Insurance, NIS, Leslie Haynes, KC, made the disclosure to Barbados today, indicating that the NIS is targeting the end of June to send the draft of the new National Insurance Bill to Cabinet for approval. So he was targeting the beginning of June. So you see, I don't even know if it went to Cabinet by the beginning of June, but by the end of July, they were having it in the House in discussion with anybody, as they should have done, because this is a major change. It is not a manifesto promise that they'll be voted on. So it is something new, so they should consult with the people. If it was something in the manifesto, then you can say, okay, well, it's in the manifesto and they promise that they can do it, and this is what we want them to do, so be it. No, it wasn't a manifesto promise. This is something that these people came up with, and they want to get their hands on the National Insurance Fund, and they want to change certain provisions of the National Insurance Fund and how it is to be administered. That is, and that is the point. So when they do this, and they say these things, and then they come up there and they think that we got a Marcy Week show just to be troublesome and create havoc. No, we are shining the light on what they're doing in the dark. Because the old people say what happens in the dark comes out in the day. Well, we ain't waiting for the day. We using lights, and we shining the light on them to let the people see that they are deceiving this country. And why? I'm yet to understand why. Doesn't make sense not to play with the people's lifeline. No, play with a lot of other little things. But they go and they take away people's pensions. You know what it is to work all your life, put down your money in the National Insurance Fund, and then when you go to get the fund, you hear, oh, the government changed the formula so you're going to get less. And then you're sitting out planning how much you're going to do, because people now go on the National Insurance portal and they're able to work out how much money they're going to get when they reach a certain age for pension. Now, all of that has changed because you're going to get less. You cannot be this depraved and to treat people in this manner and expect people to sit down and take it. I, for one, will not take it. So I'm disappointed.
Oh man, I have the article here.
Yeah.
Somebody just came on. People just came on. I don't know if you're hearing me. I find that I'm sticking a lot. Still not home yet. But can you hear me, Mr. Franklin?
Yes. Very well.
Okay. Can you do a quick review? I'm going to bring up the article. There are people who've just joined, and I see that they're asking for a review. Listen carefully, guys, and give them the summary of what is happening, Mr. Franklin, while I try to bring up the document.
Last week, I came on the Marcy Week show and they pointed out that government is replacing the National Insurance Board as the people who will administer the National Insurance Fund to the state. They're saying that the state will now administer the fund, meaning that, and also that said that the state will decide how the fund will be invested and they will advise the Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Finance then will agree. Unfortunately, the state, which is headed by the Prime Minister, the executive part of the state, the actual working part of the state, will be the Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister will be administering the fund, and then she will advise the Minister of Finance how to invest the fund. But the Minister of Finance is the Prime Minister. So in essence, the Prime Minister will advise herself how to deal with the National Insurance Fund. When I disclosed that on the Master Week show, and then subsequently the following day on Brass Tacks, the chairman of the National Insurance Fund, Leslie Haynes, came out and said, "Oh, that was a mistake." And he laughed. And he said, he don't know of anybody in this world that make a mistake. And people wanted to believe him, because I didn't believe that this government, I know it's bad, but I don't realize it could be this depraved. And only this morning, a lady called me. She wanted to remain anonymous, and she sent an article in the Barbados Today, in the Barbados Today of the 31st of May, 2023. And I'm going to read for you what Leslie Haynes, the chairman of the National Insurance, said. Open inverted commas. It says the new act is establishing the National Insurance as a commercial state enterprise that would establish the board of directors. It would establish the relationship between the government and the statutory body, and it will deal with certain provisions of the National Insurance Fund and how it is to be administered. Close inverted commas. The NIS official told Barbados Today in an interview ahead of that meeting with the NUPW. He is saying that it was a mistake, that is not intended. But the state was the National Insurance Board from the inception in 1966, 4th of July 1966, was administering this fund. He is saying in this article in May that it will be a change in how it will be to be administered. And the change came out in the legislation. The problem was that we were able to pick it up before they implemented it. So they did a lot of backtracking. They sent Leslie Haynes out there to deny what he actually said in May, and say, "Oh, it was a mistake," and they're going to amend the act. And they see one or two other errors. He called it an error.
This person is saying that the NIS is currently under review and still in consultation. But I thought that the bills were passed in the both houses. So how is it still in consultation?
Easy D. I don't know if he was sent, but I want him to use his head or her head, and not use the BLP narrative. Think for himself or think for herself, because you're quite right, Marcia. The consultation process is over. The act went to both houses of Parliament and were passed in all its stages in one day in the House, and then it went passed in all its stages default in the Senate in one day as well. There was no real meaningful discussion, because the things that we brought out in the March Week show, they didn't bring out in the House or in the Senate. We happened to read them then after everything was out there as a bill, still a bill, and we found out that the government was deceiving us. It is not under currently under any review. The review is over. You don't review something and got the legislation already passed. You review it, and then as a result of the review, you pass legislation. The legislation now is on the books, just waiting for the assent of the president. So do not allow people to deceive you. Do not deceive yourself. Think for yourself. You can write and read and think. So I suspect you can read and understand. So don't let people think for you, sir or ma'am.
He said he's a sir. I think Easy D, if you had been listening or reading any newspaper, I don't know if you're in Barbados, you would see that the consultation process and the review process has passed, has gone, and that's a fact. What we're saying is not something we're making up, sir. I know you probably are of a certain narrative, but I think and want to choose to believe what you want to believe, but to look at what is before you and do not. I think it's important that we all take off all those colors and look to see what is before us. Okay, I think that it's that is important, and this is important information, right? So guys, I want to hear your comments on what is happening, because through this one article I was trying to bring it up, but I'm still overseas, and where I'm staying the Wi-Fi is very low, very weak, and so as I try to put it on the screen, it is slowing down, it's taking up bandwidth for me to do that. But it's very easy. If you go on Google and you type in Barbados today, May 31st, type in Leslie Haynes or typing NIS reform or anything like that, the article comes up. So you will find it. Okay. Plus, people are putting it in the chat. So do your homework. Um, right. Yeah. So I think that it is important. And once again, here we this article is showing up the minister Colin Jordan of not representing the facts, let's put it like that, misrepresenting what really is supposed to happen. We heard that there is a discrepancy of what is in the newspaper, quoted in the newspaper May 31st, and what the Colin Jordan said, and there is also a discrepancy between what the chairman said and what is in the article. And then when we look at what is in the bill, what is in the bill is in harmony with what is in the Barbados Today article. You understand what's going on? So we have to look at these things and with your eyes open. Remember, we are the opposition. We do not have you. This is so your beloved Barbados. You got to take off the blinders and you've got to see what it is. Okay? Or in some cases, put on your glasses and look carefully. We are the opposition. We got to go with the information. Mr. Franklin, anything else you want to say on this particular topic?
No, I didn't really want to deal with this topic at all, but I had to because I don't like people coming out there and deceiving people. And what
Yes.
troubles me is that Minister Jordan, the Minister of Labor and the Social Partnership, he is also a minister elsewhere in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Those those two ministers are not compatible. He can't serve God and Mayor at the same time. He needs to leave. He needs to leave one or the other, but he can't. He cannot continue to hold both posts. It is a travesty. I am ashamed of him actually. I thought better. I sometimes when I see him and I thought like he's a man of God and stuff. So you will get better from him because he will like hold those sinners at bay, but the sinners that are holding him down. He is choosing to follow the party line and follow the cabinet line or whatever, despite it now knowing that it is not the truth. And you should, as a man of God, as a man who ministers to a congregation, you should not be deceiving the country, and who the country is made up of some people in your country, the people in your congregation as well. So you are deceiving them. Step aside. Tell the people of this country you're sorry and move on. We will forgive you because I am not so harsh that I would want to kill you, but I really feel I would want to stone you. You wanted things stoned, but I wouldn't
Yeah,
want to stone. I would want
actually,
you to.
He said, I remember what he said, and we won't dish that out to him because that was a very evil comment. He said about the DLP president, advocating that for people like those who he felt that he was telling lies, and he in Parliament he was saying, alluding, and trying to get the people incited to say that for people like those, you stone them. So what should happen to people like him who come and misrepresent the facts? Is what he's saying, they seem like alternative facts. They're not, it's not congruent with what is in the newspaper and what has been said. Otherwise, even Leslie Haynes come and refuted what he said about the IMF. So they're all around. Why should we trust them? Now you have Senator, what is his name? Do Bad. I call him Do Bad. He's saying name Do Good. Senator Do Bad.
No, he's not. He's an MP.
Is a
Senior
Minister Do Bad. Okay, Minister Do Bad comes now, and what is Minister Do Bad saying? Let me hear what Minister Do Bad saying.
No, he was today. He was saying, "Oh, I'm gonna pull up the newspaper," because he wants to give the impression that that they have to do these things. Bearing in mind that in May, the chairman said that you don't have to worry about the fund, and he's trying to play on people's emotions to say that we have to do this for the good of the fund and the good of the people, and that kind of stuff, and all kind of nonsense about people not getting enough children, and so you got to do this. And it is not the truth, and they will sit down and pretend what they're saying is accurate. And I don't expect people no matter to see it to highlight it and say, well, look, Minister, you're mistaken, you're lying, or whatever you want to call it. But trust me when I tell you, I do not know how to believe these people now. And because if you lie to me every time I turn, the next time you speak to me, I don't believe it's going to be a lie.
Correct. And I want to show the people themselves here, because I don't want people to think that people are coming on here to try to mislead anybody. As I said before, there's nobody, there's nothing, we have nothing, there's nothing that we are trying to do that is dependent on us coming on here and misrepresenting facts. Nobody's paying for this. There are no commercials here in it. Okay. So I want to show you. I want to show you what Mr. Do Good, Mr. Do Bad said, and also the article. So this is the article here. Thank you. We're trying to get it up, having some technical challenges there. Here we have Do Bad coming up, Minister Do Bad coming up now to say that they're doing all of these sort of funds. But remember, in that same article, that article is loaded, Mr. Franklin, because in that article, it is saying that there's no real issue with the fund and that they were going to pay back the money. That was May 31st.
Yeah.
Listen, did you all see that? When you get the article, look at it carefully. May 31st article. They said that they were going to pay back the money. That was May. This is September. What could have changed between May and September?
No, that's two sets of money. The money that they were talking about in May was the money that they used for COVID, because there was a run on the fund, and government said, well, we're going to pay us some money. That was $100 million.
It's a different one.
Yeah, but the other monies that they don't want to pay back is the 1.3 billion that they wrote off with White Oaks.
So here is Minister Do Bad. Okay, say we must protect the pensions of the next generation. But darling, this has gone too far now. You should have stood up you should have been at Parliament. I don't know if he was present, because half of them don't show up. They're getting paid all of this big money. And a lot of these people, I don't know if CASWELL can let me know if he was there as an MP. A lot of these MPs don't turn up. Yeah, they don't turn up, but we're paying them over 400. What is it? Is it 400,000 a year? I can't remember. I was going to look for the figure and show you how much money they're being paid. And this minister do bad, he
No,
comes
it's
on
more, 4 million.
400 million.
No, 4 million.
4 million, right?
Yeah,
4
because
million.
the prime minister makes $200,000 a year. You know.
And this is the kind of work where, again, we must protect the pensions of the next generation. Sir, when you sat down and you guys are coming up with the bill, you should have thought about that. It's gone already. What are you trying to do? Fool the public? You're trying to fool the public is what you're doing. That's why your minister do good, your minister do bad, not do good anymore. Yeah, because you have been sent out to do bad.
Mm.
You have been sent to be. You heard the marchers. You heard the marchers, and you came out in today's paper, right, to quiet down the people, right, and do bad. Badness is not a word, but do your badness, Mr. Do Bad. That's what you came out to do, because they send you out to do their bad work, right? Some people go on vacation and they send you out. Yeah. This is the kind of thing, and we've been talking to you guys about corruption, right? We're talking to you about corruption, transparency, accountability, and this is what is going on. They have been caught in misrepresenting the information. They have been caught in that. That's what has happened. Open up your eyes and see it for yourself. See it. That is what has happened. And they are responding to you, the opposition. That's why this minister came out with this information, right? They came out with this information today that they have to try to save the fund. But how you want to save the fund that you said, you and the prime minister and all of you said nothing was wrong with the fund? May 31st, they said, the chairman said nothing was wrong with the fund, right, Mr. Franklin? Am I right?
Yeah, precisely. He said you don't have to worry about the fund. So I do not.
So what is the fund we're trying to save now, Minister Dubad? What is the fund that you come out today talking about saving? And there is an article of the same prime minister last year, August 2022, saying that nothing was wrong with the fund. You think we're mad? In Jamaica, you take us a big head bud? You think we're idiots? This is the kind of thing that I am saying, that you come now with all this confusion to mess up people. So either the fund is okay or the fund is not okay. Which is it? Which is it?
It depends on what they want to do. At the time, if they want to panic people into following them blindly down some road that they know is the wrong road, so they will come and give you the narrative that they want you to believe. And so now it is, the fund is in danger, it is shrinking. And they're really saying in this article and this today that, our population is not growing. In fact, it is shrinking. So we don't have a lot of new money coming into the system to ensure that it can pay out its obligations to our seniors. In order to ensure that the NIS can continue to pay seniors for generations to come, action must be taken. That's not what they were saying in May. So that is scare tactics. They want to scare you into following them and believing what they did in the House in that emergency session, because you only pass bills like that when there's an emergency. You don't really do that as a matter of course. Mind you, most bills that pass in the House these days are an emergency because they just ignore the rules or suspend the rules and pass it in one day. And this one was done in that way because crop over was in the air. Everybody would have been out there dancing and walking up and stuff. So nobody was going to be caring what's going to be happening. And when they were finished, because they were supposed to pass it in the Senate on the Wednesday, first working day then. Friday, pass in the House. Then you had Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday bank holidays. First working day would have been passed on Wednesday. But the Marshall Week show paid to that. So then they called in Ron Adams and a couple other people and let them explain. You were going to pass it without having known what the bill was all about. That is what the government was going to do in the Senate. They were not prepared even to explain to the senators what the bill was all about. And then you will tell me that these people are credible and you will want to believe them. Well, believe them at your own peril, because I have had enough of them. Honestly, all they are doing is deceiving or trying to distract. We had a distraction here now with the credit unions. We had a distraction when they start giving people $100 for all the students that going to common entrance or going to school for uniforms. They are doing all of these things, hoping that the people of this country would ignore the underhanded things that they're doing. This isn't right. This is not proper. This needs to be punished. This needs action from the people. This needs the people out there on the street telling them you have gone too far. Not thus far and no further. Because let me tell you something. If they continue like this, in the next few years, we will not have a Barbados. It will be sold to the Arabs at the airport, in the ports or whatever. It will be sold to whoever else want to come in and buy it. We have to stand up, We have done this to ourselves. You because we put all the seats in their hands. And they are now using that to destroy this country. Yeah. They said power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. Well, this Barbados Labour Party government has absolute power in Barbados, and it is corrupting them absolutely. It's as simple as that. Power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. And these are the prime example of that. There are, I used to hear that as a saying, but it now comes home, and I now really understand what it means by seeing how these people behave. They're absolutely corrupt. They refuse to tell the truth anytime. Like for instance, telling the truth is like a default. The default to lying. So when they tell the truth, it is like, oh, somebody I could tell the truth because it didn't hurt. But they're so used to lying, they lie about everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
no. This is I don't feel good saying this about any government of Barbados, but this is the truth. Somebody has to bring these people back down to reality, to come back down to earth. You people moving ahead of us. We can't take this anymore. Everything in Barbados is being destroyed by these people. Everything they put their hands on. They have this reverse Midas, I like to call it. The story Midas, everything that turned to gold. Well,
Correct.
there's a reverse aspect. They're turning into something else. Fecal matter. So Marcia, I don't know. This is bothering me.
It is very sad to know that so much misrepresentation is happening. It's very disheartening. And this is why, as the opposition in this country, we have to be educated, we have to be bold, we have to be strong, we have to be forthright. We've got to have some strength and some fortitude, and make decisions whenever you hear that something is happening. Provide yourself there. You are the opposition. We can't be missing in action. All right, the opposition can't be missing in action. Okay, we have to be ready, get the information and be ready tomorrow. Talk to your neighbors about this. Talk to the people at work about it. How about the people at work? Somebody's asking, which is a very good question. Your CG saying that we don't reach a lot of people. How can we reach a lot of people? One thing I know, CG, is that I can tell you this, that there are some other shows that watch our show. I can tell you that. And then you hear it in the next day. So I'm more than likely you're going to hear this on some other shows. I won't mention those names. I know that they watch them, and that's good, because what we want is to get this information going out. If we could advertise the show on, pay some funds to advertise the show, then we could do that. in getting it out. We can also use brass tacks. People here can call in to brass tacks. The opposition can call into brass tacks and get it on their program. So then we are dealing with it in the day and we're dealing with it in the night. It can happen that way as well. So I think that we just have to be creative in what we're doing. This opposition don't have a big, we don't have all the money like the government to work with. So we're going to have to be creative. If there are 300 of us on here, okay, then you meet people every day. You meet people every day. Mr. Franklin, you meet people every day. So we're going to use word of mouth. We're going to use sharing. This program, you share it with other people so they can be educated as well, because CG is asking a very important question, right? So we need to use the social media, share about it. If some of you can edit, can you edit? Is there anybody in here who can edit? Take out pieces of this first hour of the show where Caswell is speaking and putting out the information out there, and send out pieces of it. Take off the audio and use it as a voice note. Listen, I don't have a problem with you doing that, because the message, it has to go out. So you be the foot soldiers, all 311 of us that's on. We have some on Facebook and some on YouTube, and usually the number goes up to about 400. Then when we come on, go ahead the next day and share it out. Don't just get the information for yourself and you're happy about it. Go and edit it. Take out a minute, take out a few seconds, take out 2 minutes, create TikTok videos. You do it. We are the opposition. Yeah.
Master,
Yeah.
you think, you are in Trinidad at the right time. Lord said you don't live for a purpose. Because in this same article, you think, but your business coincide that you had to go to at this point in time. No, you went on there for a purpose. Might be your business, yes, but it coincided with this was happening here. Because can point out to the people of Barbados that the nonsense that do that is saying don't really make a lot of sense. Because in the last paragraph of the article, he says, pointed out that Barbados has the highest pension payments in the region. Duguid said, by God's good graces, Barbadians are living longer than ever. And we celebrate that fact. But it means people are drawing on their pensions longer than ever before, and this has a cost. He is saying that we have the highest pension payments. What he did not say also is that we have the highest prices in the Caribbean.
Correct.
Because when the Prime Minister made that statement, you see, they're following the Prime Minister's narrative, so they can come out and talk the same foolishness that she's talking. When she made that thing, I went on, I Googled Trinidad price index, and it was shocked to see the prices. But you were there, so you could tell us what these prices are. Don't take it from me second hand or third hand, because I saw it on the thing.
No, I'm telling
Gasoline.
you as a fact. I'm telling them as a fact, right? That I went, even today, I sent the message to my husband. I bought a full plate of food that can last me twice. It had in it sweet potatoes and all the ground provisions. It has something that they call cuckoo, which is similar to our cornmeal. It had in it beef, and some lentils and all of that. A big thing, and it was about 13 Barbados dollars to that, which I know that in Barbados I would be paying $30 or $35 to that plate, that thing of food is what I would be paying.
$13 you would get the plate.
$13 I would get the plate. 13 when I calculated it, it was 40 something Trinidad dollars. Okay, and when I calculated it, right, it was about $13 that I would be paying for that in Barbados. And I know that is a $35 worth of lunch that I bought today. So everything is a third of the price of Barbados. In fact, my friend, I can't remember the type of car that she has, right? And if you do the math, 200, okay, so 200. Can anybody fill up their tank in Barbados with gas for $66 in Barbados, Mr. Franklin?
Well, not unless it's one of those toy cars.
Unless it's a toy car. Okay. My friend, I asked her, she was driving me around. I said, I want to help you with the gas. She said, just give me 200 TT, which is 66 Barbados dollars to fill her tank. So when you're going to compare, you can't compare Barbados and Trinidad like that. You can't say because Trinidad's pension is say 200 and something dollars and Barbados is 300 and something, and that we are, oh, Barbados is getting more pension than Trinidad. You can't compare because the prices are not the same, and they don't pay water rate, water bill every month, and they don't pay electricity bill every month. They pay electricity bill like every 3 months. Right now, the AC, most homes in Trinidad have AC. The oldest of homes have AC. When you go to the supermarket, chicken is so cheap. Fish is cheap. Yam is cheap. Yam that you're paying $8 a pound in Barbados, you can get yam here for $3 a pound, or $2.50.
This is
Yes, Trinidad has oil, and I'm going to address this man because you seem to lose all of your understanding. This man. I know Trinidad has oil. That's the point we're trying to make. And if you know that Trinidad has oil, why? Why would your government be comparing the pension we're getting to Trinidad when they know that everything over here is cheaper? Huh? Use your brain and stop think about it. That's the point we're making, that things are cheaper in Trinidad. We all know that. So you can't compare. You can't
Marcia,
compare.
what must know is that I was an immigration officer in 1980, 81. I worked at the airport. And people from Trinidad used to hire small planes to come and shop in Barbados. So even though they had oil all back then too. So what has happened that now Trinidad has overtaken us in such a drastic way that Barbados now would love to go to Trinidad to shop. You know, Trinidad used to come here in the 80s and shop, hire a little plane and get us, and you know, these little planes with the little propeller at the front. They come up and they shop and go back down. And they bring everything with mosquito characters. And now we have gone one direction, they have gone the other. And they now are living much better than people in Barbados when they were coming here to get our stuff.
Correct.
So something has happened.
Something
And
has something has happened, and not only that, I found out, Mr. Franklin, that their pension age is at 60.
Mhm.
So why didn't he tell us that? You see, this is a kind of nonsense. This is a kind of thing that they believe that we can't read and we can't research. Their is at 60, and their MPs is at 55. 5 years difference. What is the difference for Barbados? 18 years difference. Their MP get their money at 55, retire at 55, and they retire at 60 here in Trinidad. Okay, while in Barbados it is what, it's going to be 68, and the MP is at 50. 18 years difference, and you're trying to compare.
But watch, Marcia, you know, when parliamentary pensions first came about in 1969, retirement age for public servants and MPs were synchronized. Both were 55. All two were 55 in 1969. And for some reason, the, at warp speed, the civil service pension age going to 68 now, but the MPs won't just slip down to 50. And you people think that this is right, and that there should be some delaying tactics. Not having been embarrassed by it, there's some delaying tactics that says, oh, we agree that it is a bit early to pay our pensions, but we should have it before some commission. And they're like, oh, you know, which commission they do to cap the national insurance age here? Which commission they use to put our monies in, what do you call it, parties and all kind of stuff? You know, we allow politicians to fool us. And this guy coming on just now, he said that like Caswell, like you said, I didn't say what he said, but he wants to give the impression that I am. I don't know. I no, not.
Yeah, but this is what happens. This is what's happening, and they're speaking from a script, it seems, and we now see the MP Dubad coming out, and he is trying, because of the march, he's now coming out and talking about, trying to save the fund that they said nothing was wrong with it up to May 31st. According to them, nothing was wrong with the fund. August 2022, I have an article that I read with my own two eyes where the prime minister said nothing was wrong with the fund. So what are you trying to say? Do you think that we're idiot? Do you think we're big head bud? We think we're not a sense. We never go to school. It's only Sunday school we go to. No. And that's what the show is about. It's causing us to see the facts, see what is before us. And when we see what is happening to the pension, to NIS and to the pension, then we can take that and put that over everything else, because it means that it's a constant thing where they're mixing up information. They're saying a lot of half truths. They're not presenting the facts to us, and what happens a lot of times is that people are being deceived. This is what is happening here. Somebody said that they bought a snack box for $25 in TNT, which is true, and it's only $7.25. That's $7.25 Barbados. Is where you're going to get a snack box in Barbados for $7.25. A snack box is about, so how much is $21, or is that the one for 21, or is it 15? I don't really buy them.
I
Um,
don't know.
I don't know how much a snack box. Anybody knows the mature snack box with a KFC? They generally have the same kind of prices. And let somebody put it in there for me. But I'm saying to you, as the opposition, any well-meaning Barbadian, Mr. Franklin, should want an opposition in this country. Why wouldn't you want an opposition in this country? Every well-meaning Barbadian. I wasn't born in Barbados, and I remember that election night. I cried. I cried. I was depressed for days. Why was I depressed? Because the BLP won. No, 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 Mr. Franklin. I was depressed because there was no opposition. I remember going somewhere, and the Bungle Lights group, they gave me an award for standing up for the people. And when I went up there to start to speak, this was just before the election, I said, people, I speak because there is no opposition. And you know what happened, Mr. Franklin? I found myself started to cry in front of the people. I was crying, and I was crying as I was saying there is no opposition. I don't know if it is that it is my burden to carry. I wasn't born here. I'm a naturalized citizen. And if you think, and people are shouting out 30 love, and they're making it sound like it's a domino game or it's a sport, this is your country. Don't you care? Don't you care about your country? There is no opposition. You have to be the opposition. You have to research. It's not funny. And trying to say, oh, you see what she did? You see that move that she made, how she had the union leaders, and you see how she's shrewd. You think that's funny? That's not funny.
They have even destroyed Labor Day. Labor Day is a jump up thing in the botanical gardens. Labor Day was when the people celebrate labor, not anything else. Labor. Now the Prime Minister organizes or get somebody to organize it and self-organize. I don't know who, but it's not organized by and that was the major celebration that Barbados Workers Union had over the years. She has taken over everything in Barbados and made it hers. Everything except unity.
And people think that is funny. I don't think that is funny. And as long as the Father gives me breath, I will speak up, because I know that is not God's best for this country. I don't want, I told my husband, I cannot live in a country, there's no opposition. You want another, you really want, let's talk for real though. You really want another term with like this? Don't you see what is going to happen? Why do you think people are leaving in droves? So many of my friends are leaving this country. Not just young people, but adults are leaving. There's nothing for them here. They're mashing up the country. That's another thing that affected me. My husband could tell you, I get depressed about these things because when I came here, it wasn't like that. And it's not just them, it's the two parties. But you, for some reason, you're all giving this one, allowing this one to do what they want to do. I don't understand it.
It is marketing, Marcia. The Barbados Labour Party is very good at marketing. They can sell ice to people in the Arctic, and people will thank them for it and put out a good money. And that's what they do here. They are snake oil salesmen. They will sell you anything. But after the end of selling you, of marketing themselves to the point where they can be elected, there's a problem now with running the country. They don't have those skills. We have the, how many ministers you hear come out saying anything sensible? Because you're going to shake head because you can't recall, because they don't have the skills to run a country. They have the skills to win a campaign, and they win the campaign, but they're two different skill sets, you know. And Barbadians don't realizing it know that they're suffering, you know. And the people that are suffering are the people who can least afford to suffer. The people at the bottom.
Yes.
When you saw last, now when the prime minister's salary thing came out on the thing, people realized that her increase was over $1,000 in the last salary revision, while the increase for the people like bottom civil servants was $122.85. You know, and people know are wondering, but this is what we want to do, and this is what our unions did to us. She leads them into iniquity. The unions now are not standing up for the workers. And very shortly, there's not going to be a union movement in Barbados if it continues. They're destroying.
No.
They're destroying everything.
It is very sad. I know that we came on here. We still have some other issues we have to talk about, but this here, as somebody said, we're just talking from the heart tonight, Mr. Franklin. Someone says true, because if this was another party, hell would have opened in here, and it is true. You must stop and ask yourself why. Why aren't you more outraged about this? I told you all on this program that what really got me very outspoken was what happened with the up in Deacons. That is what triggered something in me, and I knew that we are on a wrong track when I saw what happened in Deacons on Easter. I tell you, I will never forget it. And something turned in this woman you see here. I knew it. Come off the fence, Marcia. You've got to speak up. You've got to speak up. Something is drastically wrong. And I'm saying, do you really? Do you really? I don't know. I I can't live another term. I can't live. I hope it end this thing end before the term up. I can't live another. I think there's too much corruption. There is too much corruption.
Yeah. Marcia, in 2018, when the Barbados Labour Party won the government, I was appointed a senator after Bishop Adderley. Um, People said cross the floor, but the floor wasn't established yet. So he just decided that he's going to tell the President, the Governor General, he will not work under Mayor Motley. And she in turn said, well, you will have to lead the opposition. And he then had to appoint two senators. He appointed myself and Crystal Drakes. You know, and at that state opening of Parliament, which is a occasion where the upper crust of society turns out, and they're pretty big hats and stuff, and they're blocking people from behind. You can't see what's going on in the front and thing. Fellas and their wives come out, and everybody who is somebody in Barbados came. And you know what happened? The people who were somebody included drug lords that the police identified there. And that was an invitation by invitation only. They're not one of the things. This was a special occasion for me. I was humbled by it. But they had so many people to invite, so I couldn't get one for my wife. But they invite the drug lords. I wanted about 3 or 4. I wanted to bring my mother and everybody else because no, I said no, but they can't do that because they ain't got enough space. But I had enough space for drug lords. That must tell you something. My wife couldn't come. My mother couldn't come. Well, at least my children came down from, my son came down from the States to be swearing in, and I felt good about that. But I wanted to, like, go and show off my wife with everybody else. She has pretty hats too. And, they said that I can't get a ticket for her because they don't have enough space. But I had enough space for drug lords. And how I know them to be drug lords? Because I didn't know them. I didn't know what they looked like. But I overheard the police complaining, saying, imagine that they have to go and hunt them down. They know they're here protecting them. And of course, when I heard that, I my ears, and I pretended not to be listening, not a malicious fella. And I listened to find out that these were people that the police found out, that people were still had cases before the court, better to be adjudicated. And they were there as honored guests of the government because they couldn't be honored guests of the opposition because we ain't getting to get invited in the body. So that is the position. The country has been brought to its knees because you enlist the support of that element to get elected. So now, when the police get called off, that is payback.
It is sad, and I don't know. And my husband will tell you it's something I talk about all the time. Sometimes I get fed up. I don't want to do this anymore because you feel like you're not getting through. But back to the gentleman who keeps asking, I can't remember his name. He has an initial CG, right? CG, I am saying I agree with you. We need to reach more people, and you can do it. Remember that one of the things that they're very, very, very good at is propaganda. And this is what they've started to do with Minister Dubat. They have enlisted him to come out with his white face. Okay, he's white and coming now, trying to patronize people, rubbing down your shoulder, calm down, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that, and they send him out, right? They send him out, and he comes out with trying to do this, and they're good at propaganda. So what you have to do, again, take the show, send the show about. You know that people might not watch 3 hours. I give you permission because I don't have to talk to any sponsors. Okay? Because nobody not paying us nothing. Me and our CASWELL a thing to come on here. Or Lynette or whoever comes on. Take pieces of it out. Put it on TikTok. Put it on Facebook. Create other things and talk about it. Right? Talk about it. Create things about it. Go at work. Talk to the people that sit beside you. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. And don't approach people like you're quarreling with people. Remember that they drink Kool-Aid, they drink the Kool-Aid. So you have to take it easy with them. Don't go attacking people. But what we want back Barbados. You want back Barbados? Anybody listening want back Barbados? You want back this country? This country is going to come back once the people's eyes open up. And you are the foot soldiers that can open the eyes of the people. See, we want back our country, and you can help to do that. Okay, One of the areas that we wanted to talk about tonight, um, uh, um, right, correct. This is the same one. The same one. I was trying to remember what he did, but he was the one who was telling people about their mother, and now sit up in a suit as though he is some respectable whatever. That's why I call him Minister
Mm.
Do Bad, because
No,
that's
not
what he
not
does.
not them. That's not about their mother, but their mother's organs.
About their mother's organs, right?
Mm.
But no, he sits up in a suit and trying to think. Yeah, we want back Barbados. We want it back. They have sold the soul of this country. They have sold the soul of this country. They took the country probably for the few minutes that they had buried the flag. Probably that's what they did. I don't know. Because yes, they took, after they realized what happened, they did take the flag back out. But the flag was buried for for a while, for a little bit. It was seen on Facebook. And then, because I spoke to the persons at Ministry of Finance, as I wanted to know the truth. And they said when they realized what had happened, then they took the flag out. But the point is that, did something happen there? Where is the soul of our country? What happened to our people? Why are so many young people leaving? It doesn't bother you? We want back our country. Yeah, right? We want back our country. We want back Barbados, and we're going to get it back. Now, my intention, I'm still going to try to see if I can do any presenting here, because as I said, I'm still out of the country. But I wanted to look at this article here, because this is another area that I'm wondering, if this is going to be something that is going to be used to, again, to pull wool over Barbadians' eyes, and poor people would be affected. Okay, and we want to talk about the sugar industry, and I'm trying to find the actual article to read. Right, I know Miss McLean is trying to come on, and but she is at a meeting, and so she's trying to come on because she is into the credit unions, and so is Caswell has also, we're privileged to have Mr. Franklin, because he's worked in so many sectors. What did you do for the credit unions in Barbados? In what capacity did you work, Mr. Franklin?
Well, in the early stages, I used to try to recruit people to join the credit union. Then I became what you used to call a representative, who would go there and spread the word. And eventually, I became a member of the board. I served on the supervisory committee for a number of years. The supervisory committee is the committee of the credit union that ensures that the credit union complies with the rules, the act, rules and regulations, and
Mm-hmm.
and it has certain powers that it can even suspend the board or any member of the board or the entire board if it thinks that they're doing wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember serving on the supervisory committee for about 4 or 5 years straight. Because in those
Mm-hmm.
days we had annual elections, and I
Right.
remember one year I said, well, I was on the supervisory committee for so long, I would like to take my chances and see if I can get on the board.
Mm-hmm.
I ran for the board, and I barely got into double digits. And
Mm-hmm.
then when my name went up, the supervisory committee, I got more votes than anybody in that election. For for board or credit committee or supervisory committee, members wanted me there to look out
Mm-hmm.
for their interests. And that bothered me. I can tell you, because the people are always looking for somebody to do the work for them rather than do it themselves. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that is what troubled me. I eventually served on the board a couple of times, and then me and them had a row because they were doing some things that I did not like. I called the police for them because the other members of the supervisory committee did not come along with me, and they know they were breaking the law. And it is
Mm-hmm.
such that if you are a member of the supervisory committee and you fail to report a crime, then that is a crime,
Mm-hmm.
and you can go to jail. So I tell them I can jail winner, and I called the police. The police were investigating,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got a call from the actual superintendent of police who was in charge of the investigation trying to get me to back down. It turned out that Clico Mortgage Finance was up for sale and nobody would buy it at the price that Clico wanted for it. And the credit union did a deal with the then Prime Minister David Thompson. Buy Clico Mortgage Finance and you will get the people get rid of them things for you. And that's what happened. So Clico Mortgage Finance, now Capita, was also a dirty deal. With, because credit unions are not supposed to own companies. Credit unions are not supposed to be rich. Credit unions are supposed to make their people rich. And you don't use credit. So the credit unions buying a company to compete with itself was, but the Prime Minister in those days and the FSC, who was supposed to regulate credit unions, and should have said no, allowed it because that's what the Prime Minister wanted. So I'm very fearful of what can happen now that the government wants the credit unions to get involved. I heard Trevor Brown today. I know Trevor Brown for a lot of years. He was one of my seniors at school. And I know he's committed to the cooperative cause. But sometimes when you have that type of commitment, people can take advantage of that commitment. I'll put it no higher than that. Because right now, credit unions are not allowed to invest in speculative things, but they can get permission from the FSC. Now, let me give you an idea what the credit unions can invest in. This is it came out in the section 34A of the Govt Societies Act now. And it says the funds of the society, including the reserve, may be deposited in 1, a bank registered under the Financial Institutions Act. 2, a society registered under this act, meaning the Govt Societies Act. Be invested in securities issued by the government of Barbados. 1. 2. Securities, the payment of interest on which is guaranteed by the government of Barbados. And that is how they get held the last time, because when the government then turn around and do the haircut for them, credit unions lost millions. 3. Subject to subsection 2, securities issued in Barbados by a company incorporated in Barbados and listed by the Barbados Stock Exchange if the company has paid a dividend on its shares for the preceding 5 consecutive years. 4. Subject to subsection 2, securities issued in a member state of the Caribbean Community by a company incorporated in that member state and listed by the Stock Exchange of a member state of the community if the company has paid a dividend on its shares for the preceding 5 consecutive years. Then it goes on to say, subject to subsection 2, securities issued in a member state of the Caribbean Community by a credit union that is registered in a member state of the Caribbean Community in accordance with the laws of that state. Then it says, in real property, subject to the provisions of Section 196, where the society is a credit union. Then the last one, it says, subject to subsection 2, in any other manner approved by the registrar, which is now the FSC, because the registrar of cooperatives no longer controls credit unions. Right? But it goes on to say the investment referred to in some paragraphs 3, 4, and 5 of subsection 1 shall not exceed the aggregate of 10% of the statutory reserve of any credit union. So credit unions in Barbados do not have the money in accordance with the law to put into any scheme like this. I would like to see black people own even light and power, our power generating stuff. But that is not the role of credit unions. That's not what credit unions is for. What the credit union will do the credit union should then put you in a position that if you want to buy some of those shares, the credit union will lend you the money. But the credit union should not be owning them. It is not the credit union's business. The credit unions are set up to empower their people. It is not an avenue for people or for credit unions to become multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar businesses. That is not what a credit union is supposed to be. And then we have a situation where credit unions, again, and they want to, they can invest in real property, but subject to provisions of Section 196A. 196A just tells you that a credit union cannot hold real property unless it is its headquarters for more than 5 years. You're going to sell it because you're not supposed to be dealing in that. Credit unions, what they have done over the years is contrary to the law, but with approval, invest or establish rather companies wholly owned by the credit unions, and those companies are doing the things that the credit unions cannot legally do. So it is a sham. It is corruption. It is nastiness. So the major credit unions now have all established companies that would, for instance, the credit unions cannot involve in insurance. They can't be agents or anything for it. So what they do, they establish a company, and that company then deals with the insurance. But it's a wholly owned company. The credit union is the only shareholder of those companies. So in fact, the credit unions are then still doing what the law says that they cannot do.
But they're doing it with approval. And let me just hasten to say that credit unions over since their inception have been used to help poor people. They're able to, through the credit union, they can get their homes, and they're able to send their children to university, etc. I myself am part of a credit union, and I encourage my son, as soon as he of a certain age and he started working under the summer money, to be part of the credit union. The credit union has helped our family on a number of occasions, and this is why credit union is very important. Very, very important. And this show is not to bash credit unions, but it's to caution people. It's to raise you remember, we're the opposition, so when this goes for debate and all of that, you don't want this going the way that other things have gone. So you are the opposition in the country, and so we're using the show to educate you, so that you can then ask the questions of your representatives, ask your questions of your credit unions, because they're there to help us. So we can't just sit down and take whatever they're saying to us. You understand? So the show is about education. I see Miss McLean, she's just come in, and I'm just making sure she's settled and ready. And she, along with CASWELL, to have experience in the credit union. So get ready with your questions. And I know I'm not sure she's totally ready. Are you anything to say? Anything else to say? Introduction.
Yes. I remember some years ago when we had this agro processing plant in Barbados. COVID and all those people were involved in it, and it flopped. And they run to the credit unions and said, we're going to start the credit unions and stuff. And they gave us all kind of nonsense. And they told us, it's only a $300,000 investment. It was actually $3 million. But they lied to us because they want to get their hands on credit union money. And that was the government pushing it in those days. The government was pushing the credit unions to involve itself in things that the credit unions are not set up to be involved in. I remember when the National Bank, Barbados National Bank, when the government was going to divest itself, trying to get some money. Mm-hmm. And they sold our family silver republic and the bank to. I wrote to the Prime Minister then, when after, and I said to him, credit unions are not allowed to invest in this manner, but the credit unions are interested in buying the shares of Republic Bank. And if you could amend the law to us to do so, they never amended it because they didn't want us to get our hands on lucrative things. They wanted to give us um, things that might not work. I remember our credit
Mm,
union, Public Workers Credit Union, put in a bid to buy Corverly. We were going to do it for farming and housing. And we had even had designs for the houses and all kind of stuff, and we were sure that we were going to get it. And next thing you know, somebody else got Corverly, and they built houses up there as a little matchboxes. So they don't ever want to give us the lucrative things. So
mhm.
once you see that it's not worth much, they're going to think, mind you, I would love to see, trust me, I am hopeful that this energy co-op gets off the ground and run, but not with credit union money. Let me tell you, because the credit union has no authority to put their money in there. The law is quite clear.
Yeah. Well, let me just before Miss McLean starts, let me just say to those who are watching, let's not get distracted. Those who are watching, there are people who are sent in the comment section to distract us. We are going to learn some things this for the next hour and so on that we have here. So I'm just saying to you, be wary of that, and don't get into this kind of thing with some people in here, because we're talking about something that is happening currently and they want to go back 10 years ago. So let's focus on what is here happening now and how this will affect poor people. That's all we matter about. Okay, so let me just read this here. The heading, as I say, energy co-op to take over sugar industry. And on the face of it, I know that this would be great if it actually works. But listen, the divestment of the state-owned Barbados Agricultural Management Company, BAMC, should be a done deal by year end. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Indar Ware, tells Starcom Network News he expects to be taking a paper on the matter to cabinet soon. He made it clear he's unable to disclose further details of the plan until it is approved by the cabinet. But his comments followed the announcement by President of Barbados Sustainable Energy Co-op Society Limited, Lieutenant Colonel Trevor Brown, that Co-op Energy is likely to take over BAMC's operation by year end and transition it to a significant focus on energy production. And it says here the agricultural minister would only say that private investors have come forward. They haven't said much about it. Minister, there's some voice notes here. I won't play them yet. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Indar Ware, meantime, the credit union consortium promises to invest more than $100 million to transform the sugarcane industry into a major energy producer. Lieutenant Colonel Brown tells Starcom Network News he's confident the proposed takeover will get approval. Under the plan, Co-op Energy, a company created by the credit union movement, would take over the BMC, which oversees the management, production, and sale of sugar. Lieutenant Colonel explained that along with producing sugar and molasses, the byproduct of the process bagasse, will become a major biofuel to generate electricity. He says the ownership structure gives not just credit unions and their members, but also sugar industry workers and other individuals a stake in the lucrative energy industry. And we want to talk about that this evening. And as I said, it is very important that we take the time to discuss this, because just before Ms. McLean jumps in, I did some research on Jamaica, on the Caribbean. And in Jamaica, actually, this was in 2014, a similar initiative was done, and this was by Pan Caribbean Sugar Company in August 2014. And the Gleaner newspaper talks about that initiative, and people were quite excited. They were doing the same thing. It's a company that was going to take over the sugar industry in Jamaica. Their objective was to use bagasse, a byproduct, to produce energy. They're going to that would slash energy costs and ease the burden on the national grid. But I can show you. I can show you the article by 2022. By 2022, it says Pan Caribbean Sugar Company struggles to stay afloat. You see my heading here? This is why it matters. This is now September the 4th, 2023. Actually, I said 2022. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. It is October the 3rd, 2022. The Gleaner is saying Pan Caribbean Sugar Company struggles to stay afloat. This was the same company that, look at what it said. Sugarcane power Pan Caribbean to generate electricity from bagasse. This was now August 26, 2014. And also they were able was a lot of investment was required for this, and a lot of it came from the Chinese. Now, in our situation, we don't know all of the players. We're told that the credit union and its members would be some of the investors and so on and so forth. We don't know who are the others. But in Jamaica, it was led by the Chinese, and that is now it is because they've realized it's such a risky investment that the same company that was excited about it in 2014, okay, 8 years later, they are struggling. They're struggling to even produce enough sugar. So I don't know. So this is why it is important to us. Not that it's a bad idea, but is this lucrative? Is this a viable thing to do? Well, what does this mean for us? So now I'm going to turn this over to Miss McLean. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy to have gotten home in time to join you, and I'm happy to see my fellow credit unionist, Mr. Franklyn, with you. And I think I didn't hear all that he said, but he certainly was reading some of the from the Cooperative Societies Act, because one of the things that Barbadians need to understand is that the credit union and the cooperative movement, but we're focusing on credit unions as a cooperative. The credit union is a highly regulated entity. It's a financial entity owned by the members, and therefore it is, as I'm sure CASWELL would have said, it is holding money in trust for persons like myself. The interesting thing about the credit union movement, and I hope people will pay some serious attention to the information put before them. I heard numbers like 200,000 members. That's not members. Let me set that straight. Credit unions have what I would call, they'll be double and even triple counting, because there are 200 and something thousand accounts. But some persons belong to two, like myself. I belong to two credit unions. I joined, my first membership was next month, would be 40 years ago when the city of Bridgetown was formed. Subsequently, and only in recent years, I didn't join the University Credit Union initially because I had belonged to COB, but in recent years, I decided to join the University Credit Union, particularly when I see how things are happening in banks. So the first thing I want people to understand is that you're talking about, I'm not sure the exact figure, but you're talking about almost every working person in Barbados. Let me put it that way, almost every adult, based on those numbers, and certainly working people would be members of credit unions. The reality is, however, that the profile of credit union members is what I would call working class and lower to middle income Barbadians. So you're talking about people who, by pooling their relatively small sums of money, have been able to accumulate significant hundreds of millions, billions, for example. That's one thing. So if you look at the membership, who stands to lose? These are not people who on average have any large savings. The second thing I want to say is, when we look at domestic savings, while I didn't get a chance, because this matter has only come, in terms of looking at current statistics, is only with the introduction of this issue in the news in the last couple of days, that have been trying to get up-to-date information. But as of now I would hazard a guess. I don't want to put my neck on the block that in relation to domestic savings, while the credit union controls significant savings for a big block of people and the majority savings, the credit union still control probably less than 15% of total domestic savings. But those 15% belong to the most vulnerable in terms of financial vulnerability. The other thing I want to do, because recently, what I'm doing, Marcy, is trying to contextualize, because I would say to you, this is a complex issue, and you perhaps may have to spend some time going through these issues. I recently, I think it was Saturday or Friday last week, someone who goes to the sea with me said to me, "Man, I see that the credit union movement awash with money." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Man, I hear about billions of assets. But let me tell you what the assets of a credit union are. Assets of a credit union relate primarily to loans to members. It is not cash sitting down in some vault. The assets are loans to members. The liabilities, those are the things that it owes to people, are the savings. So, for
Right.
example, if you look, and I went and I pulled up the statistics as of June 30th, 2022, from the credit union, the Barbados Cooperative Credit Union League Limited, the parent body. And what it was saying is that as of June 30th, 2022, those credit unions, which are affiliated to the umbrella body, have approximately 1.91,900,000 plus dollars in outstanding loans, which is part of their asset portfolio. So
Right.
approximately 2 billion out of approximately 3 billion has to do with loan portfolio. So that's not money sitting around. That's the important thing to understand. The credit unions are about saving and lending. And so this notion that outside of the rules which say what it can and cannot invest in, credit unions, as I said, are not sitting on cash. Now, CASWELL pointed out from the part that I heard that there are rules governing how you can invest. Now, I will do something, Marcia, because I think this is important. I actually read it today, so some people might have heard me, but I will read it again because I also have to be true to the things that I have said, because I'm going to touch on some of the things Caswell said. On the 17th of
Mr.
February.
Clean, Mr. Clean, somehow I feel like you need to say that what have been your I know you're a member of the credit union, but what we did not say what your role has been. Caswell talked about his involvement, and
Okay.
can you give us in a nutshell, just
Okay.
real
All
quick?
right. I joined COB in 1983 when it started. I am the 122nd member of an organization that now has over 60,000 members. I served on as a volunteer, and I was the first female president of COB, if that's the kind of information you want.
COB, right?
I
Okay.
would have gone to various conventions where we share information. I didn't go to get a trip because when I went to those meetings, I would sit in discussions. I did training for my credit union and the credit union movement in Barbados. So I have been very actively involved.
Okay.
My involvement, I attended general meetings. I stopped going to general meetings for the most part because when I was a minister of government, because when I go to meetings, I always have something to say because I take the whole business of the credit union seriously. And why I stopped, because if I went, anybody, from the time I opened my mouth, people would have attributed political objectives to me. Castro would tell you that we in the movement during the time that he and I would have been served, he would have been involved in public workers at the time. We also belonged to the same credit union. When we would argue about politics, but once we got into the business of the credit union, we used to park politics. Okay, and that is important because we saw the contribution of credit unions as critical. And as I told you, come the 20th of October, when City of Bridgetown turns 40 years old, I would have been in the movement from that time. So I have been involved. I have done research when I was teaching at university on credit unions. I've written about credit unions, and I continue to do so.
Okay.
I've never, my interest has never wavered. And as I say, it is something that I believe that can transform the lives of credit union members. And that is why I want to contextualize some of what I was saying now with something I read today. And this, because it links in with this whole issue of investments. But let me read it and then I will say some more. As I said, on the 17th of February 2004, and I have copies here. I can show you the copies. All of these are copies I sent to various credit unions. And it said to the secretary of XYZ Credit Union, dear sir or madam, I am inviting your credit union to send their representative to an informational session at the Harcourt Lewis Auditorium of the Barbados Public Workers Credit Union on Wednesday, February 25th, 2004 at 5 p.m. I will be presenting a business idea to the attendees. For several years, I have been pushing the idea of the creation of an investment company. This company, among other things, constitute an investment opportunity for credit union members. And I want to emphasize that for credit union members. And I read that because in supporting a lot of what CASWELL said, but I will come back to some of that, it is important for me to draw a distinction between a credit union as a financial institution investing in business ventures, and business by nature is risky, and credit unions facilitating its members to invest in productive purposes. Now, what I would say, and I said it before, in principle, I have no difficulty. I can tell you that as far as I'm concerned, I have no difficulty with the notion of credit union members investing, and where the law permits, credit unions can invest along very strict guidelines in things that fall outside of what is spelled out in the normal routine, but you have to go through a very strict process of going to members, getting the approval, then going to the regulators. In the past, it used to be the director. What was it? Was what's the title name? Registrar of Cooperatives. Nowadays, you also have the Financial Services Commission and the central bank involved in regulating credit unions. So the point I'm making is, and I'm not going to speak to this yet, this project. The reality is that credit unions cannot take overly get involved in overly risky things, or things that have a long-term gestation period where if they invest significant sums, they run the risk of impacting their cash flows and that kind of thing. So if I can just reiterate those points, we need to understand when we talk about credit union assets, what they mean. We need to understand the relationship between the money that the credit union takes in and the money that it lends out, how it makes surpluses. And I like to use the language, credit unions are not in the business of profit. They make surpluses to distribute among the members. Now, having said all of that, I would want to also make the point that, and I want to react to a couple of things that CASWELL said about credit unions owning lands and all of those things. At the end of the day, I think my credit union, for example, at some point in time had acquired property land. What it did, however, was to buy that land and with approval to create opportunities for members. As it turned out, there were major developments around it. The developers came, I was president at the time, to ask us to sell them the land, not telling us what they wanted to do with it. And the people were so disrespectful that they said to us, we know what you paid for it. I said to them, what we pay for is immaterial. What the market value is one thing. What we want to, or we would require you pay for us is another thing. The long and short of it was that we would have purchased that land at $1.something million. And by the end of the transaction, we would have generated in excess of $16 million for that land.
Mm-hmm. And why, let me pause you there, because why would it be so important as president of the credit union that you would want to make that distinction to that individual, that it should not matter to you? Why? Explain why.
The reason why I said that is that, you see, there are these, I would call them traditional business people in Barbados, who disrespected and would probably continue to disrespect the ability of persons like myself. But I will say something. Today I heard Lieutenant Colonel Brown make an important point, or a couple important points. one of the key points he made was that the credit union movement in Barbados, as we know it today, would have been developed out of the hard work of people like CASWELL FRANKLYN and a group of volunteers, including persons like me, myself and yourself, young Barbadians at the time in the 80s were the ones who came together and formed Barbados Workers Union. Credit Union, I think, was formed in the same year as COB, and so on. These were the people who saw the power of the credit union movement to transform the lives of Barbadians who could not normally access the banking system. The credit unions got involved. Their policies influenced the banks to change some of their what we would call draconian policies. And so we have been able to succeed. Now, my argument from back in the 90s and the early 2000s, as I read in that letter, was that the credit union movement is a movement intended to support its members.
Okay.
And supporting its members, it can do so by sticking to the principles of credit unionism and cooperatives, but it can also leverage its membership base, because, as I said, with 200,000 accounts and that representing 100 and something thousand people, it is in a position to leverage that base, because we are not only savers, we are consumers, right? And therefore, the credit union can facilitate credit union members to own things. And this is where I would say, in principle, I can see that something like energy, because when you think about it, what do people being the credit unions need? They need housing, they need food, they have to use energy. You understand? There's certain essential things. Now, if there are proper, and I will use certain prefaces, I will preface my words with, if there are proper opportunities, etc., they should take advantage. Now, I think that as we go through this, before we even get to analyzing this particular opportunity, I am saying that any initiative that the credit unions want to pursue must not put the institutions at risk in terms of their operations. So in essence, one of the things that triggered a red flag for me and people who call me was from the same article I think that you read from, when it talked about a consortium of credit unions investing in this project. And that right away said, my first reaction once I heard it, even before I started the field calls, was to send a note to two members of my credit union, a senior management position and a member of the board of directors, to ask them to tell me what exactly, if any, role is City of Bridgetown, that's my credit union, playing in this. And they assured me that they weren't part of any consortium, because there was no such decision taken. So I'm not sure, what it is. So my thinking is that if an opportunity exists for credit union members, those 100,000+, or let me say the 200,000 that they use, because they do that, but the various households that make up membership of the credit union are in a position to invest in something in which they will get good returns, fine. But recognize that until the credit union members are informed and permission sought from them, credit unions themselves cannot invest in something like this. I am reserving any judgment on any proposal until I see a prospectus. A prospectus basically would be a very in-depth document which sets out the project description, the financial and other analysis, all the technical kinds of things, which will say to a prospective investor, here is why you should invest in this project. And so until that is done, I can only speak to the principles of what I call level 3 activity for credit unions, which is the goal to take members to the point where we can generate wealth. But we cannot generate wealth in something that is questionable. And I'll tell you what I mean. And if you want me to stop, you can tell me. In terms of the sugar industry, because let me start there. before we get to a revived, a renewed, a redesigned, a restructured, and expanded sugar industry, we have to look at the realities of what existed for decades, and that was that we had a sugar industry in which government heavily subsidized. Some people might have seen things going around talking about $40 million in subsidy in a year, or whatever the case may be. Um, so in essence, if you're asking me to invest in something, I will put this question up front, and I put it to Lieutenant Colonel Brown today. What is it that government is offering to anybody, and in this case, to the cooperative movement through the vehicle, the energy co-op? What is it that they are offering to the investors who would be part of that? That's the first question. Are they offering them some aspect of this? I mean, are they saying, well, you take over this? I mean, for example, there's some entities will say, look, give me $1, and as a token thing, you take over this with all its debts and everything, and you take it and run with it. I don't know. So my first question is, what will you be getting, whatever the investment configuration, what will
Mhm.
you be getting from government? And the flip side of that is, what is government requiring of you? And I again, when we look at the articles, the newspaper headlines, the messages going around on social media, the number $100 million was put out there, and I think I heard some kind of discussion of how that broke down into equity and loan capital and whatever else. So those are technical things, but I think the basic question for me as a prospective investor in anything is, what are they giving, and what am I getting? What are they giving to me, and what do I have to give to get what they're giving me? And that is a fundamental question, because if we do not have that information, we are in trouble. So in essence, I'm hearing, and I will now put on another hat, because somebody in the media, I know that there are people who will try to distract the important discussions you have, and get
Correct.
politics. Yes, I was part of a political administration. I was a member of cabinet. I was a member of the Senate as leader of government business. And in those capacities, I am privy to an energy policy that was prepared then. This administration has prepared one. I would have to compare the notes to see how they're similar. What I can tell you is that energy is critical, and the point that was made is that we have an energy bill, an import energy bill, which rises as oil prices go up. But the energy bill is probably, when you look at it in relation to the government budget, we're talking about $800 million and so on. But as we start to talk about renewable energy, we start to get into some very technical details. What is the current demand, the capacity, and all kinds of things. So I don't want to complicate that. That's, to my mind, part of the chain of discussions that have to take place. So before we can say this is good or bad, we have to see what it is you're getting. How does it fit into the current situation in terms of demand and supply, etc.? Now, this I would say, if we can realize significant, now somebody, I noticed Jeffrey Reed is saying that the sugar industry is dying and has been for a long time. Why should the credit union invest? And that is a question that any sensible person should ask. Now, my question, and that's why I asked what we're getting, because there are two things that have happened in recent years, and it didn't happen overnight in the last two. With the ending of trade protections and subsidies for sugar and so on, a lot of things started to happen in the sugar industry. The one good aspect of the sugar industry that continued to make money for Barbados was the production of rum, or is the production of rum. The challenge that they have in terms of the production of rum is that to continue to be recognized as Barbados rum, it has to have a certain percentage content of Barbados produced raw materials, primarily something like molasses. Okay. Um, and so you have to look and see what are the costs of producing molasses and so on. I note that Mr. Lieutenant Colonel Brown, I like to use the title, indicated that they are contemplating an industry where sugar and molasses are byproducts. Now, I will have to hear about the technicals of those, but I can tell you that if molasses can be produced efficiently, and it then protects our rum brand to a large extent. I want to introduce something here because you notice I've talked about the credit union. Let me see if I can make sure people follow me because this is a complex thing. I've talked
Okay, and
about
then we're going to move on to CASWELL, right?
okay, fine.
Go ahead, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
No,
so
go ahead, go ahead.
okay. Now, what I wanted to quickly say is that in all of this, there's something else we have to factor in there. What is happening currently? Let's forget the renewable energy for a minute because we talk about sugar because that is the renewable energy is produced from sugarcane plant anyhow. So there's this sugarcane is in the equation. But in terms of the molasses production, we have three major, I would say three major rum producers in Barbados. The question I would ask is, what are they doing now? My understanding, and this is subject to correction, that one of the producers is using a production technique that does not only use molasses. And I would put that there because I would want to research further. The second one is that we have, in the case of another one, and I suppose I can call the name from what I'm seeing and I've read in the newspaper. Mount Gay, for example, has been doing a lot of work in terms of what I see as them getting involved in their own production of molasses from what I'm seeing. That is subject to verification or otherwise. But I noticed I had the opportunity in 2017 to meet with the owners of the parent company, Remy Martin, because they were here in Barbados all together for the first time since acquiring the company. And they were, in fact, one of the things, if I could say this quickly, that I said to those directors in the evening I met them, that if they wanted to do something, because this issue of molasses was part of a conversation, it would be nice if you can create an entity to produce molasses, given the problems that we were having with the sugar industry, and give Barbadians an opportunity to invest in it. No, I don't know what is, is a family business and whatever the case may be. The point I'm making is that there are some developments in the industry which we too will need to be educated about if we are looking. So I'm not saying no to any investment. I'm simply saying there's a lot of information that has to be given. But I'll stick a pin there and because I've said a lot on multiple things and hear what CASWELL has to say. But the point I'm making basically is that credit unions as institutions cannot will not be given permission, given their financial structures and so on, to invest the kind of money by themselves. And even if they were able to do it, I wouldn't advise it. What I would advise any investment, not only in this or any project which will benefit members, is that the credit union should use the opportunity to generate loan business by saying to members, you can come if you want to invest and you don't think you have enough the wherewithal or whatever, or even if you want to protect your savings and borrow to invest, and they themselves would lend money and earn interest higher than anything else that they will probably get on any returns they get in now. But I'll stick a pin there. I've said a lot, and we need to dissect this, perhaps in other sessions. But I'll hear. CASWELL has been very patient.
Yeah. So thank you, Ms. McLean. I want to ask Mr. Franklin a very, very straight question, because I'm hearing about this $2 billion that are in outstanding loans, and that would be the assets. And I understand how the $1 billion in savings would be a liability because it doesn't really belong to them, so it would be a liability. So this $2 billion, it seems like, people
Marcia,
say,
before you go, let me just correct you so you get some numbers properly, because you use some numbers. The loans for the entire, those reporting things and would be 1,906,679,000 plus
so
dollars.
approximately $2 billion in loans.
What I'm saying in terms of deposits, though, because the other thing is the other assets are the 1.1 billion is other assets, but in terms of liabilities, deposit in the movement stand at 2 billion three
Okay.
hundred and fourteen million. So that I just want to make
Okay.
sure
So
that
2
if you
billion
use the
in
numbers
yeah, approximately 2 billion in savings as well, which
in
is a which
deposits,
is a
right? And then there are
right.
shares and some other thing. Okay.
Okay, liability. So, Mr. Franklin, what I want to know is, for credit union members who are listening, and if they go along with this consortium, and which you have said it's illegal, and Ms. McLean is saying it can't happen, where credit unions themselves, would be investing. My question is, why would, if it is illegal and both of you are saying it can't happen, why would that be in the article? Why, I'm speaking, Mr. Franklin, why would, because I'm seeing it here in the article, why would it be said? Let me read it. Meantime, the credit union consortium promises to invest more than 100 million. Who is the consortium and why would that be here? It says, under the plan, the Co-op Energy, a company created by the credit union movement, a company created by, would take over the BMC. Why is that being proposed then, Mr. Franklin?
Well, I could only speculate. You see, we
Yeah.
have government in Barbados that has 30 seats in Parliament, in a 30-seat Parliament. So the only thing that Parliament cannot do is make a man a woman and a woman a man. They can do almost anything. So amending the laws to suit themselves, just like how they amend the credit union things, the national insurance things, so that the government would take over the fund, they can do anything. And that's one thing I'm worried about. Because government wants money and wants money badly, and they're finding easy pickings with the credit unions. And I believe that to be so. But let me explain to you as the law currently stands. Credit unions cannot invest in this venture because, first of all, the venture has to be listed on the stock exchange. And not only has it been listed on the stock exchange, but it must have paid a dividend for the last 5 years. But this company ain't started yet. So you can't start up the company because you have to have a track record before the credit union can invest in you. And the company does not have a track record yet. As a matter of fact, it's not even established yet. But all of those things could go for naught if the government goes to Parliament and the where, not in our where. Sorry about that, but he takes a bill to Parliament and whatever, and the rest say aye, and everything can change. But as it stands right now, and they tell you I don't trust these people as far as they control them, and they can do it that way. But they would have, mind you, and they will also, they could probably even sneak it in, like they sneak in the national insurance amendments too. Matt, see, you heard about what you weren't there, but I'm going to recap just for you later. Just one article from there, but we'll go back to that later. So right now, credit unions are prohibited from involving themselves in, see, the money, any money that have in the credit union, including the reserve. And the reserve for the credit union, because if Maxine can call words and they can call words, and if you don't know what they mean, they can sound fancy, but that's all it's going to be. The statutory reserve of a credit union and the surplus of the credit union. Every time a credit union makes a surplus, we don't speak, we don't let it say a profit. But basically the same thing. The credit union makes a surplus, 25% of that surplus goes to a fund called the statutory reserve. So that fund would only grow in accordance with how much money the credit union makes in a year. So it is not going to be, it's like yes, it's not going to be large. And for the smaller credit units, it ain't going to be much. So this consortium cannot get the money through legal means right now. So I am wondering, that's why I said, I would love to see our energy thing being owned by Barbadians, and I have no difficulty with that. I would like to see it happen. But at the same time, I would not like to see it happen on the backs of credit union members. Because right now, a credit union is not a vehicle for that type of investment. a credit union, as Maxine said, and I would always agree, is there to empower its membership, not for the credit union itself to get rich. So Maxine is quite correct. The credit union would make money available to its members who can then invest in anything like that. But the credit union itself should steer clear of these speculative arrangements. But that is not
Now,
that's not their role.
right. Let me ask you again, Mr. Franklin. I know of people who have invested in a lot of the solar energy grids that, they've invested in those things. And a lot of them are saying that, they're not receiving any, they felt that it was a mistake. And so in light of all of these solar energy investments that people feeling that, what was the point of this? Because nothing much is happening for them. I know people who have done that, and it's only certain families and certain people who are benefiting. My question is, in your heart of hearts and based on what you know, do you think that this is a lucrative business opportunity for cooperative, whether as a consortium or members themselves?
If it is Williams Solar,
Repeat,
but
please.
hmm?
Repeat. You
but
said what?
as if it is Williams Solar, you see, you still have to get on the grid. And right now, the Light and Power is saying we can accommodate more people on the grid right now. So what is going to change for the Light and Power to accommodate this new credit union, cooperative, or whatever it is, energy company, and get it on the grid? That is another thing, because I remember when I was doing research about these same things, because sorry about that. That's my son calling from overseas, so I will call him back him later.
Okay.
Yeah, Spain went full steam ahead into the energy co-op people on the grid and stuff, and then everything hit bottom, and they made a lot of paupers out of those investors into the alternative energy sector in Spain. You can check it out yourself. It's all over the. You can.
Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? And I'm gonna I see Winston there. Winston is gonna come in to do another matter, and I promise you, Miss McLean, we have to stay on this. And the reason I want us to stay on this, it might sound a little boring to some people, is that we are talking here about working class people's money. And we want to protect people. So repeat what you just say, Caswell, because that is my research online, why I asked you that question. I've seen it with a lot of countries. I've not seen a country that has done it and it has done well for its people. But go ahead, Caswell. Repeat what you said.
No,
Said about
I'm
Spain.
saying when this whole thing got going, I like researching things. It's a bad habit of mine. So I went and I researched what was happening in Spain. And the people of Spain were sold a bill of goods called these alternate energy stuff. And all of them decided that they're going to put in this infrastructure to get on the grid. And everything went south. And a lot of people lost their life savings, lost their farms, lost everything as a result of this. I am hopeful that it would work. I would pray that it would work, but I still have some skepticism because I've seen other people's attempts to get involved. Other people are talking about like Spain, and it collapsed around them like a house of cards.
And
So
I just showed you we're in Jamaica as well, and people are still not. Investors can't get back any money. It is struggling in Jamaica. They're barely trying to hold on. So Barbadians, what we're saying, it's not as Miss McLean said as well, and so Caswell is saying, we're hoping it would work, but you've got to have your eyes open because we don't want to get caught where you put your little money in, or so you have to be educated. That's why we're doing this show, guys. Why this show is being done, right? Very important. I will let Miss McLean just give us 2 minutes, and then we're going to come back to you. Mr. Clark is in here with another important issue, but we want to continue this on Wednesday because I think that this is very, very important. Go ahead, Miss McLean.
Okay, what I will say quickly that I think it's important, but if we are talking about risk, and you're talking, I'll use the 100 million for example. If we say that we have 200,000 accounts, and 100,000, half of those accounts invested $1,000, they would raise $100 million. Okay, and in relative terms, if you contextualize $1,000 per member, that is very different from credit unions as institutions. Because remember what I said, if credit unions as institutions invested a lot of money, let's say the two credit unions that I belong to, and it went south, I would lose twice, okay, because I was a member of that one. And then in the case of my brother who belongs to three, he would lose three times if they had invested, and it could jeopardize. So I am saying that all the things that you've pointed out, what has been the experience elsewhere, what is it that we are being asked to invest in at the end of the day? In other words, what happens with that capital that is mobilized? What are the opportunities exactly? What is the business plan? All of those things cannot be rushed. The idea of mass-based ownership is important, is excellent, but we also have to recognize that we cannot go into any of these things blindly. If it is, and I'm seeing the comments about what has happened in the past, so I think it is something that we need to really continue to talk about. And once I'm available, I will speak to it. You're sending me now to do some homework in updating my knowledge on what has transpired for some of these other projects that I saw. And as I said, I withhold my judgment as to what will happen until I see a prospectus. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, I would say to people, these are the pros and the cons, and we need to pay attention. And we also need to
Correct.
understand what the law allows credit unions to do or not do.
Yeah, because we don't want any tampering again with laws and changing things and all of that. We are not standing for it. And that's why it is on this show. And we will stand on the side of the working class of this country. And we're going to
And
give
pay
you
attention to the legislative agenda. Pay attention to what goes on in Parliament on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That is
yes.
how we were able to see, and that's how this whole thing. Because if a few people weren't paying attention, it would have gone along and
Yes.
not, it would have heard about it after the fact. Sorry to interrupt.
But that's why I say to people, we are the opposition. And there's this question that I'm going to leave it to linger out there because of time. And God willing, we'll be able to pick it up on Wednesday. I've lived in Barbados all these years, 22 years, I believe. And I'm wondering, just looking at just what I've seen over the years, why would this opportunity be coming now to Black Barbadians? My thing is, and I have lots of white friends, but my thing is, I've often seen that all these business opportunities, the first people to benefit from it is usually white Barbadians. And so I'm wondering why one of them did not take this up. If this was so viable, that's something to think about. If this was such a viable and a lucrative opportunity, do you think, that's a question to put out there, okay? And I'm opening my big mouth and asking the question. Do you think that the working class poor Barbadians would have an opportunity? Look how long this industry have been languishing. Look how long the sugar industry has been in the state that it is in. Why now? Why didn't one of them pick it up? Do you think that there would have been such a great opportunity and it would go unnoticed by business people? Just a question there. I know it's a lot to unpack, and we will do that next time. But let me just bring in Mr. Clark. Winston, I just want to welcome you. I did talk about you earlier. And on behalf of Caswell and the team, I want to thank you. I think you have another device on, but I want to thank you for your involvement in the march. How you yes, involvement in the march, and on behalf of the people, because it's not our thing, on behalf of the people how you serve the people in the march. But I know there is an issue that is very, very much on your mind. There are two issues really, and I want you to go ahead with what you called me about this evening. Go ahead, Winston.
Okay. Hello. Good night, everyone. Thank you for having me, Marcia. Good night,
You're
Caswell.
welcome.
Good night, Ms. McLean. Um, all right. You are speaking about the credit unions, right? And today, I was called relative to an incident that occurred at one of these credit unions where a lady went to withdraw some funds and she was told that her account had been freezed. She been asked how long it had been free. She was told her account had been free since November, which means that she hadn't used the account for a while. But she went to draw some funds, and they told her she cannot draw off any funds. All right. They didn't send any communication to her, whatever. She said the account has an excess of $9,000, but for some reason they decided that they would freeze this account because they said that she had, at one point in time, deposited some money, and that same day taken off some money too, and they were querying it. No, it left her very upset, and she called me in a state. I could hear the anxiety in her voice, right? And I had asked her, well, I told her she should have called me while she was there, because I would have gone on there. All right. And the thing about it is that people in financial agencies are now doing as they like with your money. I would have closed that account. Me, myself, I would have closed that account. I would have asked the senior manager, I would have called the nation, Barbados today, I would call everybody, and I would have asked to close my account. That's the truth, right? But you have to be very, very careful when you're investing your money into financial agencies. And even in the form of private pensions, in the form of, because people are taking your monies and investing them as they like. All right. And it's like I came into the conversation late, but this is not the first time that this is happening. I'm hearing more than one person complaining of problems that they're experiencing with unions. I'm hearing people with problems with banks. I'm hearing about problems with credit agencies, etc. All right. And we have to be very, very careful, because with the way the country is being run right now and the shortage, I should say, of cash to certain sections of the public, it is something that we have to be very, very careful. And as far as investment, as far as placing our money in these financial institutions, all right, and who we give our money to, because we
Mhm.
need money for security. All right, we need it for security, especially when we get older. We need it to be able to take care of our families, etc. And when you get a situation like that where an emergency occurs and you run to a financial agency and you ask them for your own money, they're telling you, well, no, you cannot have it.
Mhm.
There's certain people
You
would
know, you know what is good is that we have Caswell. Can you they've worked with the credit union for years. Caswell, in a nutshell, just quickly, because I want you to come in later to summarize what you said about the NIS, what the revelations tonight. But can you quickly say what would be some of the reasons why someone's account will be frozen? Oh, you're muted. One second.
Myriad things could have happened to cause the accounts to be frozen. Somebody could have tried to access it, and then you have to verify that that's the actual person who now comes to the credit union. It could be a whole bunch of things, but this is not a major problem. It might sound major because people do not know that credit unions are probably the safest place, and you have the best advantage of looking out for your own interests at credit unions, and there are a lot of structures in the credit union to make sure that you get justice. Now, this lady, and let me start by saying to you that the credit unions are not doing themselves a favor without going out and doing one of the first the major tenets of credit unions, which is the credit of cooperatives, is to educate its members. What we should be doing is educating the members, because if a person had called me and said, "Caswell, this is what has happened," I would say to them, "Okay, well, contact the supervisory committee, and they should investigate the matter. And if you're not satisfied with the investigation from the supervisory committee, or they take it too long, then you can refer the matter to the Financial Services Commission in form of a dispute.
Mm-hmm.
The Financial Services Commission, they can either hear the dispute themselves, or they can refer to an arbitrator. I have done that several times. But because this is not generally known, and it should be, I blame the credit unions for it. So people will be afraid when they hear things like what you're saying, but that is routine, because there is a structure already in place to deal with something like that. You know, it isn't as traumatic as it might sound. You know, but I have the knowledge,
Right.
and I used to teach people about that stuff, about corporate studies, act and stuff. When we had seminars and stuff, but I know it. I don't do it anymore. But the credit unions are still obligated by law to follow cooperative principles, and the cooperative principles, we have what they say in the act. They actually spell out what a credit union must do, and one of those principles is that it must educate its members. And we are no a lot of credit unions are not doing that. They're more concerned with taking your money, lending it out, and trying to be like banks.
Mm-hmm.
But that lady she just needs to contact the if the staff can't handle it. If some of the staff say, well, oh, something's wrong there. Supervisory committee then would investigate. The supervisory committee it consists of people, like for instance, I told you, I was a member of the supervisory committee for years in both City of Bridgetown Credit Union and Workers Credit Union. I couldn't get off, because when I tried, the people didn't let me.
Lots of questions for you. Well, this is why we have these people here who are able to be able to answer something like that, and I suspect Winston to reach out to either of them after to see how we could really help that person. I want to say thank you to everybody on here who supported that person, the gentleman who was having a moment there and felt that he would want to end his life, and he said that on this broadcast. And there are people here I'm sure would not want to be made known, but some people went ahead, paid bills for him. People gave him some funds. Even I know Caswell collected at the march. He sent me a message right after the march to say funds collected, and he made sure he told me early so I can pass that information to let that person know what was happening. And people rally around that man, like they knew him. He messaged me early in the morning, like about 6, and said, could you believe people that this lady said she's coming by me, and going to help me out? And people were just helping. Because we have a lot of our men it's hard. Things are hard in Barbados, and people, because we like to put on a front, but a lot of people eating ramen, as Caswell is saying, and so it's tough on them. And this gentleman got sick and just could not keep up with the bills. He's sick, just came out of hospital and needed some help. And he's doing better. He on Saturday at 4 o'clock, he had a counselor that he was supposed to go to see. And because I for one was insisting about the counseling that is given as well. And he said to tell everybody, thank you. I spoke to him this evening, and I will keep in touch. And we must become our brothers' keepers and our sisters' keepers, not just the sisters, but the brothers. Because when things are hard in the home and so on, the men take it on, and that's why you're hearing so many of the men committing suicide. And we don't want any more. We can reach out. So I want to thank those that paid bills. Some people have even committed on that particular bill to pay it for a couple months to ease his mind, so that he can. And I think that is very, very commendable that we did that. And that's what we want the show to be, not just a talk shop, but that we can actually help. And that's why this topic with the credit unions is very, very important, because it needs to be a place where we can get information so you know whether to invest or not to invest. Straight up. Right? Ms. McLean, at the end of the show, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to recap what you said. Everybody thought was a great presentation. Give me 2 minutes. But I'm going to go back to Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark.
Yes, please.
There, I saw something that is really bothering me that I can't deal with too much yet until I get my own website, because they will take me off of here if I use certain words. So I want you to talk in code for me. I don't want Caswell talk, because Caswell won't get me off, because he just say it as it is. But you will know what I mean, okay? Now, I saw something with GIS that is really concerning me, and I know Caswell will deal with it strong once I get my own website. But where they're having a seminar, which is wonderful. They're having a seminar for the young people there at GIS, but they're saying that all certain protocols, C protocols, must be followed. So follow me, people that are watching. So you remember we just came out of the pandemic, and we had a lot of protocols, and you know what those protocols are, right? So we're talking about putting stuff over your face, and we're talking about the hands and all of that. We can't say too many things. So, Mr. Clark, it was very disturbing when I saw that. What are your thoughts? You are one of those on the forefront educating Barbadians about some of these things. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I know that the international agencies were perspicacious enough. They had the foresight to say that something will be happening here. Okay, they didn't say when, but we're hearing is this month and next month that we will be experiencing some form of illnesses, some forms of illnesses, etc., and that we need to prepare ourselves for it. And what is happening in the United States is that they have started to implement other forms of medication, other forms of intrusive medication, so to speak. All right. And it looks as if they're also preparing here, because they've started to initiate the protocol whereby we have to go back to how we were a couple of years, the last couple of years again. It surprised me when I would see something where children or people are coming to a class and they have to, you understand, obey these so-called protocols when we don't know of anything like this reoccurring here in Barbados. But not only that, I'm seeing something happening where I'm seeing our military and some paramilitary people building some structures. And I know that they usually have test runs. But when I see them on such a mass scale in two locations, I understand it means that they're looking at something is happening. Something's going to happen. It's going to happen. Okay, and it leaves me apprehensive. All right, when I see these things being put in place. So it looks as if
you're speaking, because we can say that you're speaking about this open air hospital that is being seem like it is being manned by the defense force. I'm trying to
100 and something personnel. Yeah, there was one. I was seeing something at the garrison. Then I was seeing one at the stadium. All right, and they were advertising it. You know, they were speaking about it on the media. All right, but I'm wondering if it was. Usually they have exercises, and I know CASWELL as a past cadet and stuff, he would know about the exercises that are usually carried out. But when I see them placing bivouacs and these kind of that amount of supplies and stuff in place, all right, I'm wondering if they're expecting something to happen. Are they expecting something to happen? And then you're initiating certain protocols at certain places. What are they expecting? And I would like to warn people that it is time to maybe start stocking up on certain things, because when I see people from a certain sector being placed in charge of these things, it means that these people will be coming out, as opposed to how it was done by a softer set of people. It looks as if it would be more military style, the way they are implementing these
But
procedures.
I mean, what one can say that it's, I mean, we could see there's an issue at QEH where people are waiting for days for a bed and so on. So
Mhm.
somebody looking at it could say, well, the government is trying to
Mhm.
make sure, to expand the hospital services
Mhm.
and that everybody, but I think also that because we don't know and because of what has been done before, which is why I always say, speaking to people, talking to people about what is going on, I think that is why there is that fear, because so many people have sent it to me all day today and are very, very concerned about it because they're looking at what has happened in other countries. Then they see this GIS thing going around talking about these protocols again, which I thought that the protocols were no more. So, but they're now enforcing these rules on the participants. Is it an old ad? I even asked the question. I
No, it's
said,
not. No, it's not. No, it's not. It was advertised actually for the 18th of September and this year, 2023. Okay, it was there written. It's for this month. All right, that these classes will be ongoing, etc. It's for this year. All right, so it means that they're they're enforcing them again in certain
mm.
places, certain establishments. They're
I
enforcing them
don't
again.
understand that. I can't wait to have the freedom to be able to speak about it openly because I think that these are things that we need to prepare ourselves for.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like, they're really, the US said for sure, the US is seem to be going back to what they had a couple of months ago. And they are forcing, really, really pushing these injections
I
and these jokes, they're giving you the juice, right?
I,
So,
I want to say something though, Marcia, very quickly. I did a video where I spoke about a gentleman who found himself in the hospital about 2 weeks ago. Okay, 2 weeks ago, and where he had admitted to me that he had been through these protocols and he had taken certain medication. All right, he started to feel as if he had arthritis, and then it evolved into a form of multiple sclerosis. He ended up
mhm.
in QEH, and he was my next door neighbor. I use the past tense. He was my next door neighbor, and I would take care of him. And I went to see him, and he had this the full ventilator on. And when he saw me coming through the door, he started to act up, right? And I came and I tried to listen to him, and he told me, "Tell them take this off. Take this off. It's killing me." He said that. You understand? He could hardly speak, could hardly understand what he was saying. But I started to make noise and I told him to take it off. And I explained that there is another um, device that they could use, the one that goes into the nose. And he then, after they took it off, he explained that his mom had been through cancer and that they could use that. And then after his family left, he told me, come, he wants to talk to me. He told me he felt as if they were trying out something on him. All right. Quickly after, we left about an hour after, they called his family and said he had COVID. And they took him to her at some point. He made a lot of calls. And within 2 days, he was back in the hospital. They said he didn't have the COVID anymore. But he started to deteriorate. And it's sad to say that that gentleman passed away 3 days ago. All right.
Okay. Right. Don't
But
use that word anymore. Just say, infection or something.
yeah, right, right. Okay, good. Sorry about that. But he passed away, right? And it played on my mind, right, because of what he went through while there, how the ventilator was used and how he felt as if it was. He told me he felt as if it was drowning him, and I'm able to go back to where my experiences and see certain things, right, and it's something that I will have to speak to you about in camera, so to speak. All right,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm
Okay.
seeing a pattern. I
The
believe CASWELL
pattern.
might be aware of what I'm
So
talking about.
they're building again, and we do
Yeah,
need a forum, and I know that those who are someone is helping me, a group of people helping me to have that website so we can speak freely. I'm going to probably do it on Rumble very, very soon, because this is very, very important. Probably just broadcast to Rumble so that we can speak freely about this, because we have to prepare. We're not going to get caught,
yeah.
unaware. So Winston, stand, get ready for that. We're going
Oh,
to
I'm
do that.
ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
We're going to do that and do
Yeah,
some
I'm
public
ready.
education about it. Let me go to Miss McLean and then have Mr. Franklin to close up. Miss McLean, can you summarize for us that beautiful presentation that you made? And we're promising the people that we're going to pick it up, God willing, on Wednesday.
Okay, thank you very much. I want people to understand what credit unions are, the importance that they've played in the lives of Barbadians, the opportunities that leveraging membership will mean for them. And also, I think it is important um, to spend time as members understand. And I read a note there from one of the people on the viewing the program, who said something. The credit union has $3 billion in assets, where it doesn't invest in supermarkets or something. Clearly, that person did not hear my explanation of what an asset is. An asset really is not cash. It is the credit unions, loan portfolio, and some other things. So they need to understand what the movement is. They need to understand their rights and responsibilities. And I also believe that there are opportunities, if properly thought through, and perhaps you know if members pay attention, that we rightfully can invest in things that are mass member owned. However, we also need to appreciate the restrictions that the Cooperative Societies Act and other regulations of the Financial Services Commission, the Central Bank, the Cooperative Department. These are the entities that oversee the regulations, what credit unions as institutions can and cannot do. It is important that anything that comes to us, whether it is some private entity coming or government coming and saying this is an opportunity, we need to understand that clearly. As I said, I've withheld my position on what if something is right or wrong in terms of this specific project. But from the time I saw something which talks about taking over the sugar industry, that sent up a red flag for me and said, you need to pay attention to that and look clearly and see what it is that we're getting and what we're being asked to give, and how at the end of the day, what are we, because business is risky, what are we being exposed to? It requires informed decision making, and we can talk a bit more about these kinds of things. But this is not something that it is about. At the end of the day, Marcy and company, this is about people's financial well-being. It's about people's finances. It is about risk. And the question is, to what extent are you prepared to take risk? To what extent are we being given as the hundreds of thousands of people who make up the credit union movement, because they say there are 200,000. So that's, what are we being given as an opportunity? And I use the word I used when I was speaking to Lieutenant Colonel Brown this morning, while I agree with in principle on opportunities for mass investment and financial enfranchisement of credit union members, which is the vast majority of Barbadians, we have to be sure that we are not putting our resources at risk in a way that would be detrimental to us and our financial security. The last thing I would say, and I don't want people to go telling people to take out their money. As CASWELL said, go and ask yourself, go and ask the credit union to explain to you exactly what is happening. Up to today, I sent a note to the CEO of my credit union because people call me asking for assistance, not only in my credit union, but others, and I take the time. But credit unions, and go and look in and see what the fundamental principles are. But one of the principles speaks to education of members. And so these are things that the credit unions have to do in a way that benefits the members. So This is an important part of our life. This is where the vast majority of Barbadians have their money. And I think that we need to pay attention to that.
Yes. Thank you, Miss McLean. Beautifully said. Thank you. And we hope to see you again on Wednesday, when we're going to discuss this a bit more. Mr. Franklin, thank you so much for being on. Can you summarize the bombshells that you came with this evening about the same NIS? It's a gift that keeps giving. Go ahead, sir.
Well, Maxine, by the way, the cooperative principles are found at Section 4 of the Cooperative Societies Act, so you don't go to look far. Anyhow, Maxine, this is especially for you because you know you were in a meeting and you didn't hear the beginning of the program. You know, some time ago we said that the government is making the National Insurance Fund a state fund.
Yes.
The board the state.
Mm-hmm.
And we said that would mean that the state will now be advising the Minister of Finance how to invest in National Insurance Fund. The chairman of the National Insurance Fund or National Insurance Board came on air and challenged what I said.
I heard
And,
him.
yeah, well, he didn't make it, but at least he tried. But this morning, a lady contacted me and she told me she has sent me an article in Barbados today, May 31st, 2023. And I'm not going to read that article because it's going to put myself too far off. But it was saying that the chairman of the National Insurance Board gave an interview to the Barbados today. Mind you, it was reported on May 31st, 2023. Keep that date in mind. He said, and I'm opening inverted commas, the new act is establishing the national insurance as a commercial state enterprise. That would establish the board of directors. It would establish the relationship between the government and the statutory body, and it will deal with certain provisions of the National Insurance Fund and how it is to be administered. Close inverted commas. The National Insurance Fund was administered by the board from inception. They are proposing to change the way it's being administered. And they put in the legislation that the state will not administer it. And they came out when they were caught with their pants down and said it was a mistake. It was not a mistake. He said it in the Barbados today on May 31st, 2023, 3 months ago. He also said in that article that the National Insurance Fund, he said, so really, I wouldn't worry about the National Insurance Fund. He said there was nothing to worry about with the National Insurance Fund in May 2023. So what is all of this thing we are hearing about the fund and all this danger and all kind of stuff? Something is going wrong. We are being fed the information to make us go the road that they want us to go, not necessarily information that should be fed to us. So, but they forget that they said things previously. He said it in the newspaper 3 months earlier. I know he's come back and saying what I said is not true. Which one is not true? No, the one he said in the 31st of May, or the one he said a couple of days ago on Brass Tax? Which one?
And you know, CASWELL, that's why I said this is where it's at on 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock on Wednesday, we're going to go into this a bit more. And we're definitely going to go into the sugar industry, look at the energy, this new thing that they want to do, and to see, look at other places. We're going to go look more into Spain, look into Jamaica, look into Mauritius, look into all of these countries, because the information is there. Research it, and you will see what is happening internationally with this kind of business venture that they are encouraging us to put our money in. Okay, very, very important. And hopefully we might be able to have the young lady whose stall was taken from her. I had a long talk with her today, and she is getting ready to come on, and we're going to see. As I told her, we're more than a talk shop to see what can be done. All of her things are locked up in there. It's a horrible situation. A case of nepotism, a case of, all kinds of issues happening there, there
Uh,
with that young lady.
what
So
you, what you talking about? You're talking about the stall that the board member won't get?
CASWELL, don't open the words, because let me tell you, that going to spill right out
No, I
next.
try to find out what you're talking about.
Yes, you're correct. You're correct.
Lord,
Yes.
I'm trying, Miss McLean, I'm trying to be diplomatic. Miss McLean always tell me, Marcia, don't let them sue you. So the allegation, it's an allegation that it's ridiculous. This whole thing is such a, it smells of corruption. And it smells of corruption with the MP, the allegations with the MP's involvement. It is corruption. So she is going to, yes, she has her attorney wants to come on the program as well. So that should be quite interesting.
Whoa.
So
Oh, that's
we
good.
we are trying to, I'm sorry I'm not in Barbados. I'll be down at Oystins. I called some of the fish vendors down there today and got hold of her, because we want to bring out the truth on this program. As I told them, I don't want to come on here and tell any lie. When I go to my bed, I want to sleep at night time. So I want to know what is the facts, and I check with other people before I spoke to her to get the information, right? And they're coming on here, and it reeks of corruption. You hear me? Nepotism, wickedness in high places. So we're going to talk about that.
Marcia, before you go,
CASWELL, yes.
let me tell you something. There are no Dems for them to victimize now. So the ministers are turning on each other. Like, for instance, trust me when I tell you, because I had a case recently where one minister got a job for a girl, and then the next minister, get rid of her because he wanted a job for one of his people. But they're destroying each other now because they got the them. So this 30 thing might be
Listen,
their undoing.
they're fighting one another, because here it is. It's one of the 30 that is fighting the other one,
Yeah.
the other MP. So this is craziness. And I'm
Marcia,
saying everybody's still seeing red. I don't
Marcia,
understand. We
Marcia,
can't finish. Go ahead, Winston.
I just want to leave some food for thought here, right? Because we are seeing where they went and they closed the stall and took whatever out and stuff like that, right? No, something that people haven't looked at is something you have somebody renting a house from you, okay? And to be able to get them out, you have to serve them a notice to quit, not once, but twice. And then you have to take them to court. This lady has not seen court yet. I want people to realize that, because people are saying it isn't hers, she didn't have a right and stuff. We have to go by the law. You understand? That's all I have to say.
I still don't know what you mean. I asked you a question, but answer me. I asked you. So
is that the board member? The board member wanted it.
The allegation.
You understand?
Allegation.
And where is
Marcia,
this again?
on the phone, he went down there.
And where is this again? I don't know. I'm not trying to catch it.
Listen. This is very inhumane what has happened, and the process did not work in her case because of the people. Poor thing. She was. And the last thing I say, Miss McLean, the poor young lady was appealing to the same people who want the thing.
A small fish in a shark tank.
So it didn't make any sense, and this is the kind of thing that we're laughing, but it's not a laughing matter for her, because she's lost a huge client. You will hear about it. She's lost a huge client.
I think, Marcia, I mean, this to me really, we talk about natural justice, and it really is bothersome to see how these things unfold in the way that they do. I also would want, well, the matter will go to court and all of that, but in the interim, what is happening to her livelihood?
Correct.
I have heard some allegations, and all I would say is, heaven forbid, I certainly would like to see a profile of the person who is supposed to get the space. because
Well, I
a
will
lot of
bring the
strange things.
allegations and I will bring the profile, and it's all an allegation, okay?
Mhm.
And let people see how powerful these people are versus this little young
Mm.
woman who's an entrepreneur. And that's all it is. It's about kindness and about we treat one another. And I hope that when she comes on here,
And
we will give her
fairness and equity. And
equity.
Right.
And
people say
That's
God
right.
don't like ugly. I am beginning to get very worried about the way people are doing things. And when I say people, some people in this administration, because it I think that there's a moral compass that people need to demonstrate and own
Mm.
in how you do things. And I mean, it just smacks of 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 use of power,
Use.
against abuse of
abuse
power.
of
Thank you very
power,
much.
abuse
The
of power.
abuse of power
Use of
It's
against
power.
abuse of
vulnerable
power.
people.
And that's where we will leave it tonight, because this is one of those things, will get me going, because the injustice, I hate it. So God willing, we will pick up on Wednesday or Friday as soon as the attorney is available, but we can still discuss it till they come on, right? So we'll discuss it some more until they gone. Okay. Have a great night, guys. This has been wonderful.
And
And see you, Winston, Mr. McLean, and the General Caswell. Thank you for being on. God
All
bless.
right. Thank you for having me. All right. Good night.
Yes. Yes. Bye bye.